A boy crawled across the ground. He grabbed the body of a monster and ate it. He kept reminding himself to keep eating even though it tasted disgusting and shameful. He forced himself to continue because he believed that eating it was the only way he could change. Not long before this, the same boy had been treated like a punching bag because of his weight. Others blamed him for making life harder with his sweaty smell. The boy, Maruyama Nazoru, begged for them to stop. They mocked him by calling him an orphan and a fat kid. Nazoru thought their words were cruel. When one of them raised a fist to hit him, a man named Takashi stepped in and stopped it. He warned them to leave his children alone. What angered him the most was hearing them insult Nazoru for being both overweight and parentless. The bullies left with bitter expressions. On the way home, Takashi asked if it was right to let the bullies go. Nazoru accepted it, since what they said about him being fat and an orphan was true. Takashi told him that appearances did not matter, because what was most important was the kindness of a person's heart. He knew how caring Nazoru was and believed he did not deserve such treatment. Takashi was the director of the orphanage which had once belonged to his parents. He had taken Nazoru in when the boy lost his family at a young age, and he was also raising other children with the same loss. To them, he was like a father. When they returned, a girl named Tsurugi greeted them. She quickly noticed the small cuts on Nazoru's face and understood he had been bullied again. Nazoru worried that her hands would get dirty from touching him, but she misunderstood and thought he was calling her dirty instead. During their lighthearted chatter, a large magic circle formed beneath their feet. Everyone was pulled into it and vanished from the orphanage porch. Moments later, they found themselves inside a grand hall with bright chandeliers and tall decorated walls. Takashi quickly checked on the children to see if they were safe, while Nazoru tried to understand where they had ended up. An elderly man appeared and apologized for the sudden summoning. He introduced himself as Reje Koning III, king of the kingdom of Jumogus. He thanked them for arriving from another world and explained that their strength was needed. He asked them to listen even if the request came suddenly. The king revealed that demon lords were causing chaos in their land, and that only the summoned ones could help restore peace. Nazoru realized this place felt like the worlds he had seen in anime where people could rise as heroes. He silently wished he could become strong like Takashi. To everyone's surprise, Takashi refused. He explained that most of those with him were only children and asked instead for them to be returned home. Soon after, a young girl stepped forward and apologized. She introduced herself as Philia Koning, daughter of the king. She admitted that while they had succeeded in summoning them to this world, there was no known way to send them back to where they came from. Takashi complained about being suddenly dragged into problems that were not theirs. Philia apologized and explained that they did not even have enough power to decide who was summoned. This made Tsurugi realize they had only been chosen by chance. Philia then explained further that within every demon lord rested an orb filled with mana. Whoever claimed this orb could have a wish granted. Tsurugi grew angry at the thought and asked if the people of this world expected children like them to carry such a burden. Philia said that was never their plan. She explained that those summoned to their world were given special powers, but most of these powers stayed hidden. Abilities awakened only after the age of 15, and until then, the children would remain under the castle's care. This meant that only Takashi, Tsurugi, and Nazoru were able to fight. The king was pleased that they finally understood, and he selfishly declared that it was time to check their classes. Takashi tried to stop him, but the king already forced open their status windows. Nazoru's class appeared as Glutton, something he could hardly believe. Takashi's class was Hot Blood, and even he had no idea what it meant. Tsurugi, however, received the strongest reaction. Her class was revealed as Sword Saint. The king shouted that this title could change the entire war. His behavior toward Tsurugi immediately shifted, and he treated her with great importance, even inviting her to join him for a meal. Philia also encouraged the children to follow. Everyone looked forward to tasting food from another world. Out of the confusion, Takashi and Nazoru were left behind. Nazoru advised Takashi that they should at least try to understand the situation since they were still new to this world. Takashi agreed and suggested that they eat as much as they could first. Before they could enter the dining hall, the king stopped them. He explained that he had never seen the classes called Glutton and Hot Blood before. After saying this, he insisted that one thing needed to be confirmed. In the next moment, a guard struck them, and they both lost consciousness. Nazoru woke up later to the sound of Takashi calling out to him. He sat up slowly while Takashi looked relieved that his friend was unharmed. Nazoru asked what had happened, but Takashi had no answer. The only thing he knew was that they were now standing in front of monsters, which made it clear they had been thrown into a dangerous place. Nazoru was stunned by the sight, but Takashi quickly realized they were inside an arena. The king appeared again and ordered them to fight the monsters. Both were shocked, but the king explained it was a test of their strange powers. He reminded them that their classes had never been recorded and demanded that they defeat the creatures to prove they were worthy of being called heroes. Nazoru thought it was too much to expect from them, but the king only gave a short apology before opening a large gate. From it, a slime monster slid into the arena. Nazoru felt unprepared to face such a creature, but Takashi stepped forward to protect him. He told Nazoru to stay back and then face the slime. The monster struck first, yet Takashi dodged with ease. He waited for the right moment, then delivered a strong punch that defeated the slime in a single blow. Takashi proudly declared that the monsters of this world were not as threatening as they seemed, and asked the king if the trial was finished so they could return to the children. The king, however, remained silent. Takashi then turned to Nazoru and suggested they leave on their own, but before they could move, another monster suddenly appeared behind Nazoru. Takashi reacted quickly, pushing him out of danger, but he himself was struck hard by the attack. The force sent him flying across the arena, crashing to the ground. Nazoru rushed to his side, worried for his life, but Takashi was too weak to answer clearly. Nazoru shouted for the king to heal Takashi, warning that he would die without help. The king ignored his plea. Meanwhile, the new monster continued to attack, and Nazoru had no choice but to dodge clumsily, his body barely keeping up. The king mocked them, saying all he saw was a man who had fallen to a simple orc and a boy who could only run away. To him, they were worthless. Yet even as he insulted them, the king laughed with amusement. Watching Nazoru struggle made the battle entertaining in his eyes. He admitted that monster fights had grown dull, but when human lives were involved, the spectacle became exciting. At that moment, Nazoru finally understood the king's cruel nature. The man on the throne saw them not as heroes, but as toys meant for his twisted amusement. The orc swung its wooden club and Nazoru tried to dodge, but his left leg was struck. In the end, no matter where he went, he could not escape the truth. He could only watch Takashi lying on the ground, breathing heavily. He could not believe that he had failed to protect someone so important to him. At that moment, he noticed that he had fallen into something wet and slimy. When he looked around, he realized he had landed in front of the slime's corpse. A glowing status window appeared, showing that the slime was a target for consumption, and asking if Nazoru would eat it. Reading those words made him understand that his class was activating. He questioned if he should really consume the slime. Before he could decide, the orc attacked again, forcing Nazoru to step back. The creature now stood between him and the slime's body. Feeling trapped, Nazoru realized he had no choice left. He rushed past the orc and grabbed the slime's eyeball. He reminded himself that he could no longer hesitate or remain weak. Forcing himself forward, he bit into the slime's eyeball, fighting against the urge to vomit. He pushed himself to eat more. The orc approached, but Nazoru did not stop. Even though his body looked pitiful, he kept devouring the slime. He repeated to himself that he had to continue, that he had to change. At that moment, the system confirmed that Nazoru had consumed the slime and taken its existence into himself. But before he could react, the orc swung its heavy club down on his head, crushing it into a mess. From a distance, the king cheered with delight at the sight, laughing as Nazoru's body was destroyed. His laughter quickly stopped when he noticed the puddle changing shape into something new. From it, Nazoru appeared, realizing that he had turned into a slime. The king was stunned when he saw that Nazoru had gained the power of the monster he had eaten. Even with this shocking display, the king still called him unclean and ordered the orcs to keep fighting, claiming the battle was not yet finished. The monster charged at Nazoru again, but Takashi stood up and blocked the orc's attack. Takashi admired Nazoru's strength, but knowing his own body was failing, he urged Nazoru to escape through a nearby drain. Nazoru resisted, unwilling to leave his friend behind, yet Takashi insisted that staying meant they would both die. He reminded Nazoru that the king would destroy the other children if they turned out to have weak or unwanted classes. Nazoru felt powerless on his own, but Takashi gave him one final request. He asked Nazoru to protect Tsurugi and the others, apologizing for forcing such a heavy responsibility on him while trusting him completely. Panicking, the king shouted for the orcs to kill both Takashi and Nazoru immediately, and to make sure no one learned about his secret escape path. Takashi continued to hold the monster back, giving Nazoru no choice but to flee. With a cry of determination, Nazoru slid into the drainage system. Down in the sewers, he felt crushed by the thought that he was still the same weak Nazoru even in this strange new world. He was neither a hero nor a savior. Yet in that dark place, his heart grew stronger. He swore that he would kill the king and rescue the others no matter what stood in his way. He could not stop himself from shouting in frustration. He cried because Takashi had died only to save him. Takashi had truly sworn to protect everyone. At that moment, a status window appeared and showed Nazoru that a class upgrade was available for Glutton. Yet with his current body structure, he could not keep the class. To continue holding it, the system asked if he wanted to change his body structure. Nazoru understood that his form would change, but his strength would remain. Since power was the only thing that mattered to him, he agreed. The system confirmed his choice, and right away Nazoru felt sharp pain moving through his body. He screamed loudly as his body began to reshape. His skin and flesh felt like they were burning, and he kept crying out until he could hardly breathe. He collapsed onto the floor but rolled toward the sewer water. As his mind faded into darkness, the system confirmed that his class had ranked up and that Glutton had evolved into Demon Devourer. Before long, Nazoru was carried out of the sewers. He opened his eyes and panicked as he remembered blacking out. But then he froze when he saw his reflection in the water. His face looked sharper and his body had become stronger and more built. Even so, he worried about where he had ended up. He remembered how Takashi had given his life for him and had passed on the duty to protect everyone. He knew he could not waste the life that had been saved. His first task was to escape the castle, but the only path he could see was a drain pipe. Nazoru shifted into a slime form and crawled through the pipe. The passage was completely dark and he had no idea which direction would lead him out. Suddenly he noticed a faint light and thought it might be the exit. When he crawled out of the pipe, he found himself in an underground prison filled with skeletons and prisoners who were barely alive. He could not believe he had ended up back at the castle, and even worse, in such a strange and terrible place. Before he could leave, a dying old man spoke, surprised that someone unusual had managed to slip inside the prisons. Nazoru was shocked to see a corpse move its mouth, but then realized the man was still alive. The old man asked who he was, but Nazoru admitted he had no name because he was treated only as a slave. Nazoru was stunned to learn slavery existed in this world. The old man called him strange and wondered if slaves were really so rare to him. Thinking about the king, Nazoru began to wonder what kind of kingdom this truly was. If he were in Takashi's place, he questioned what he should do next. Just then, he noticed a set of keys hanging on the nearby wall. He unlocked the prison cell and asked the old man if he could still move. The man could not believe he had the chance to escape before his last breath. At that moment, a painful groan echoed from deeper inside the cells. Nazoru asked if someone else was trapped there, but the old man warned him not to approach. Nazoru, however, could not abandon someone suffering, so he ran deeper into the prison. There he found a girl with long ears and plants were growing out of her body. The sight shocked him. The old man explained that it was a cannibal plant, a monster that attached itself to the girl's neck and lived as a parasite. She had been turned into an experiment, forced to serve as a host. The old man said the plant would fiercely protect her by attacking anyone who came close. Nazoru grew angry and asked why anyone would do such cruel experiments. The man answered that it was either for military power or simply for the king's amusement. Furious, Nazoru stepped into the cell. The cannibal plant quickly noticed him, making him hesitate, but the old man told him not to hold back since his slime body could not be harmed easily. Nazoru charged forward, grabbed the plant, and tried to rip it off, but the monster bit at him in return. Shocked, he slammed it against the floor. Then he used his slime body to cover and suffocate it until it stopped moving and finally died. When Nazoru tried to pull the plant off the girl, she screamed in pain. He realized the roots had already dug deep inside her body, and tearing them out would only cause more suffering. The girl begged him to kill her instead. She explained that the plant would keep regenerating as long as the roots stayed inside her. Living like that was unbearable, and she said she would rather die than continue enduring the agony. When Nazoru asked how he could completely remove the roots, the system confirmed that the cannibal plant was a valid target for consumption. Nazoru was shocked and carefully examined the unconscious monster plant. He wondered if he could really consume it in his slime form. The system quickly confirmed that he could. This surprised him because it felt like the system was reading his thoughts. Still, he only knew one method for a slime to consume something. The system then explained that a slime only needed to touch its target to digest and absorb it. Grateful for the answer, Nazoru prepared himself. He turned to the girl and promised that he could save her. He asked her to trust her life to him, and she agreed, though she also wished for death if his attempt failed. Nazoru swore to succeed no matter what. He reminded himself that he was a slime and pressed against her neck, slipping into her body where the monster's roots were buried. Slowly, he slid deeper and wrapped his slime body around the twisted roots inside her. He felt progress as he spread further, covering every root he could detect. At the same time, he wrapped her body in a soothing warmth to lessen her pain. Soon, the roots vanished from her face and body. The system confirmed that the cannibal plant had been fully consumed. The girl's body relaxed and she quickly fell into deep sleep. The old man who had been watching could not believe the power he had witnessed. Yet he warned Nazoru that staying longer would bring danger. He feared the guards might come, so he checked the door. The moment he looked outside, he froze. Nazoru realized his earlier movements had been too noisy, and he had not considered the risk of guards hearing. The girl would not wake up soon, and if the guards found them like this, they would be in serious trouble. He tried to call to the old man, but when the man turned around, a sword was already driven into his chest. A guard stood behind him, demanding to know if Nazoru was part of the prison break. The guard asked who he was. and then finished off the old man without hesitation. Furious, Nazoru questioned his actions, but the guard mocked him and asked the same in return. Stepping on the old man's lifeless body, the guard pressed for answers, wanting to know who Nazoru was and how he had entered. Nazoru gave no reply. Seeing his silence, the guard raised his sword and declared that he would simply kill him. Nazoru realized that the worst thing he feared had actually happened to him. The guard rushed at him with the intent to kill. He swung his weapon in a wide slash, thinking he had already won. But to his shock, Nazoru's wounds healed right away. The guard froze in surprise and demanded to know what Nazoru really was. Noticing the guard's confusion, Nazoru saw an opening. He reminded himself not to hesitate and charged forward, landing a punch straight on the guard's face. For a moment, he felt relieved that it worked. The guard, however, only laughed and mocked him, saying such a weak punch was useless, then wiped the slime from his face. Nazoru quickly understood that his slime fist alone was not strong enough. The guard admitted it was his first time seeing a humanoid slime. He said the only way to defeat one was to smash the slime core hidden inside its body. Nazoru instantly realized his chest held his weak point. The guard sneered, asking if he had just figured that out. He promised to cut Nazoru open and search for the core himself. Nazoru scrambled to dodge the guard's attacks, forced to stay on the defensive. The guard pressed on and questioned why he was struggling so much. With no other choice, Nazoru kept retreating as the strikes continued. At last, the guard swung down with a vertical slash that tore through Nazoru's body. By luck alone, the blade missed the core by only the smallest margin. Nazoru realized he could not stay on the defensive any longer. Sharp teeth started to grow out of his hand, shocking the guard. Nazoru decided to test the strange power he had just gained. The guard quickly understood that Nazoru was not an ordinary slime. Nazoru believed things might turn in his favor if he combined the powers of the slime with the cannibal plant. He chose to go on the attack. The guard, however, regained focus and aimed at Nazoru's chest. He tried to pierce him, but Nazoru let go of his humanoid form and dropped to the ground with a wet plop. Seeing the guard off balance, Nazoru returned to his humanoid shape, his hand still carrying the plant's sharp teeth, and grabbed the guard's neck. Even while in pain, the guard managed to raise his arm and swing his sword. He sliced Nazoru's hand, freeing himself from the grip. Nazoru noticed he had only managed to land a shallow wound. Angered, the guard prepared another strike. Just as Nazoru thought his life was about to end, the guard suddenly dropped his sword and fell to his knees. His face twisted as the holes on his neck twitched and stretched open. Nazoru then realized his earlier attack had paralyzed the man. The guard tried to fight against it, but his body collapsed to the ground, eyes wide open before going still. Nazoru did not want to believe it, yet he knew the guard had just died. His chest tightened, his nerves dulled, and the truth weighed on him. He had killed someone. Before despair consumed him, a voice called out. The girl who had been taken over by the cannibal plant earlier had regained her consciousness. Nazoru felt relief seeing her awake again. But when her eyes landed on his hand, she trembled and asked if it was the cannibal plant. Her face showed the deep fear of someone who had not yet escaped past trauma. The girl looked at Nazoru with doubt after seeing the cannibal plant on his hand and the corpses scattered around. She soon understood, however, as Nazoru explained what had happened and how his ability worked. She learned that he had copied the power of the monster plant after absorbing it. Nazoru appreciated how quickly she understood the situation. The girl realized then that he had been the one who saved her, and she showed her gratitude while also apologizing for being rude earlier. Nazoru brushed it off as nothing important and introduced himself. Afterward, she introduced herself as Libra Plantain and thanked him again for rescuing her from such a terrible fate. She promised to repay him in any way she could, though Nazoru felt that was unnecessary. When Libra touched his hand, she recognized the warm presence she had felt before. Even so, she had already suspected that he was not from her world, since his powers worked in such an unusual way. To her, abilities like his usually belonged to people who came from outside their land. Nazoru explained that his gift allowed him to copy the powers of whatever he consumed. At first it was known as gluttony, but it had since evolved into something greater called Demon Eater. Libra could not recall reading about such a class in any record, yet she found it fascinating. Nazoru admitted he did not completely understand it himself and wondered if her thoughts about it were correct. For the moment, he suggested they leave the castle before it became too late. However, Libra held on to him and insisted that they visit a certain place first, claiming it could help them escape. They soon reached an area that looked like a garbage dump. Nazoru noticed the broken ceiling above, which appeared to be a possible exit. It was high up, but with his current strength, he believed he could reach it. While observing the area, he heard rustling and turned to find Libra putting on gear she had retrieved. Though it surprised him at first, she explained that these were her belongings that had been taken earlier. She even gave him something to wear so he could cover himself. Together, they began their escape. Nazoru climbed up to the broken ceiling first and then pulled Libra after him. Although it was difficult, they managed to get out. Libra felt relieved but soon noticed Nazoru staring quietly at the castle. In his heart, he apologized to Takashi for not being strong enough at that moment. Yet he silently vowed that one day he would return, far stronger, and rescue everyone. Meanwhile, Tsurugi and the other children enjoyed their dinner. The food was unlike anything they had ever seen or tasted before. While the others ate happily, Tsurugi only stared at the dishes in silence. She said she was about to eat, but she still hesitated. At that moment, the king entered and asked if everyone was enjoying the meal. Tsurugi suddenly stood up and called out to him. Concerned, the king asked what was wrong. She explained that Takashi and Nazoru had not returned yet. The king asked if she was truly searching for those two. Tsurugi wondered if he knew something about them. The king answered firmly, saying the two men had already set out on a journey to defeat the Demon King. Tsurugi struggled to believe what she had just heard. The king added that their older brother had left a message. Takashi had asked the king to care for the children because they could not be placed in danger. The children cheered for their brave brothers. Even if the mission sounded risky, they thought it was amazing. Tsurugi, however, felt uneasy, since they had only just arrived in this new world. The king tried to ease her worries by saying he had given the two powerful equipment and plenty of supplies. For now, he told Tsurugi to focus on her own training so she could support her brothers one day. After that, he left her in confusion. When the king stepped out of the dining hall, someone appeared suddenly. The figure asked if he had found the culprits. A masked man reported that the prison had been raided but no trace of the attackers remained. The king then gave a sharp order to release wanted posters and hunt down the humanoid slime. As he dried his clothes, Nazoru felt thankful that he finally made it out of the capital safely. He asked if Libra was ready. Libra, with her wet and see-through clothes, said she needed more time to finish drying her clothes. Nazoru turned red and looked away. He suggested that they should travel as far as possible while the night still covered them. While they walked, he asked if her backpack was heavy and offered to carry it. She said she could handle it on her own. Nazoru then thought about whether it was all right for her not to return home. He wondered if her family might be waiting and worried about her. He warned her that staying with him could be dangerous. Libra explained that she had already devoted her life to him and that she had no family left to worry about her. As long as he allowed it, she would remain at his side. Nazoru accepted this, but deep inside he felt uneasy. Libra wanted to know why Nazoru left the king's side. Since he had not explained it properly before, he told her everything that happened. After sharing his story, he promised himself to grow stronger and save everyone. Still, he questioned if he could do it all alone. Libra then suggested they should hunt monsters. She believed that with his ability, Demon Eater, consuming more monsters might be the answer. Nazoru asked if it was that simple to find them. Libra pointed toward the woods nearby, saying monsters might live there. The place was close to the capital, so monsters did not often appear, but out in the wild they usually hid and waited. Nazoru stayed silent for a moment before agreeing to enter the forest. Later in the woods, a group of horned rabbits attacked Nazoru. He struggled against their speed and quick movements, but in the end they managed to trap the rabbits in one spot. Nazoru used this chance to release his power called Demon Eater. A mouth appeared on the palm of his hand and tried to bite one of the horned rabbits. To his surprise, the rabbit dodged and jumped onto his arm. It ran quickly up his arm and then launched itself like a missile. The strike pierced through the strange mouth and even hit the tree behind him. Nazoru felt relieved that he had slime powers, because without them he might have fallen like the tree. He realized the fight was far more dangerous than he expected. Libra agreed, reminding him that they were dealing with monsters after all. Hidden in the darkness of a nearby cave, another monster was already watching them. Nazoru grew worried that they might end up being the ones hunted instead. Libra suggested they go after something smaller, and Nazoru agreed with that plan. They sneaked up behind a horned rabbit that was quietly drinking water from the river. Since it had not noticed them yet, Nazoru turned his hands into slime and grabbed it. He managed to pin the rabbit down and smother it by wrapping his slime around its body. When the creature finally died, the system confirmed it as a valid target for consumption. Libra felt relieved that Nazoru had finally succeeded and urged him to consume it right away. Nazoru thought the method felt unfair, but at least he had managed to defeat one. Suddenly, a loud shriek echoed nearby. Both of them froze, realizing it sounded like the cry of a horned rabbit. A moment later, a burning creature was thrown onto the ground near them. It was the very same horned rabbit they had been chasing earlier. Nazoru sensed that something worse was approaching. A huge beast stepped out of the thick woods, its body burning and covered in flames. It looked like a giant boar, and its presence shook the forest. Nazoru stood shocked as he tried to understand what kind of monster had just appeared before them. He and Libra froze in place. He could not believe they had run into something dangerous. Still, if he managed to defeat it and steal its powers, he would have a chance to grow stronger. He made Libra move to a safe spot while he prepared himself. Nazoru slowly brought out his plant ability as he walked closer to the monster. It would take time for the parasite to grow, but if he bound it with the plant's power, he might win. He leaped over the monster and placed his hand on its back. The attack worked, and the creature felt pain, then rammed him with force. Nazoru crashed against a nearby tree, but his slime body kept him safe. The parasite had already taken root, and he only needed to hold out until the monster weakened. The beast charged again and sank its fangs into him. Even while pierced, Nazoru tried to endure. If the fangs struck his slime core, he would have died instantly. He noticed the plant parasite budding on the monster's back, yet the creature still fought with wild strength. Nazoru thought he only needed to last a little longer. Suddenly, flames burst from the monster's body. Its fire grew stronger and burned away the parasitic plant. Realizing his plant power failed, Nazoru turned to his slime ability. Just as he had done with the rabbit before, he tried to suffocate the boar monster. He wrapped his slime body around its mouth and nose, hoping to block its air. At first the monster struggled, and Nazoru believed his plan was working. But the boar released even greater flames. It tried to boil his slime body and turn him into steam. Seeing the danger, Nazoru pulled back and created distance. The monster stood unharmed despite everything he had done. Just when Nazoru felt hopeless because his powers were not working against the monster, Libra appeared. She told him to eat the rabbit monster she had thrown toward him. It was the same rabbit he had killed earlier, and he had no choice but to rely on its powers. Before he could act, the rabbit was struck in midair by a fireball and burned to ashes. That was the last chance Nazoru could use, but it was already gone. Suddenly, he felt the heat rising and saw the boar monster forming more fireballs. It then released them in every direction. Nazoru thought the enemy was far too strong for them and believed retreat was the only option, but he could not move away because of the burning heat. To make things worse, the monster spread its flames in a wide circle to trap him inside. Nazoru realized that every path of escape had already been closed off. Nazoru realized that his powers did not work on the flaming boar. He had also missed the chance to gain the power of the rabbit. The boar began to launch fireballs at him, and although he dodged most of them, some still hit and burned his skin. He knew he could not keep running and needed to find a way to escape. Then a necklace suddenly dropped in front of him. Libra pointed out that it was made from a griffin's claw and urged him to use his Demon Eater ability on it. Hearing that it came from a griffin gave Nazoru a spark of hope, and he felt grateful to Libra. He quickly grabbed the necklace and bit into the claw. To Libra's shock, he chewed on the hard claw of a high-speed griffin as if it were a simple snack. The flaming boar rushed toward him, but at that moment the system confirmed that he had consumed a griffin and could now wield its power. Sharp claws grew from his hands and he faced the charging beast with determination. He slashed the monster with swift strikes and the boar collapsed to the ground with a heavy thud. Its flame slowly faded, and the creature finally died in its own pool of blood. Nazoru, who had changed his form, could not believe the strength he had just gained. Libra rushed to him and praised how he brought down the boar with a single strike using the griffin's power. Nazoru thanked her for helping him earlier. With the griffin's power in his grasp, Libra pointed out that he no longer needed to eat the boar to gain its abilities. Nazoru agreed, but in that moment his transformation faded and the power vanished. He wondered what was happening, and even Libra looked puzzled. He was no longer able to transform back. The system soon revealed that the griffin's power had already expired. To fully control the griffin's abilities, Nazoru needed its magic essence. This essence was the inner energy carried inside a monster's body. Nazoru realized he had not taken in enough of the griffin to keep its power, so what he used earlier was only temporary. Libra was unsettled when he said he could not use the griffin's strength anymore, and Nazoru noticed the necklace meant something to her. She brushed it off, and although he apologized, she told him not to worry about it. What mattered more was whether he would consume the boar. With the monster's huge size, Nazoru shifted into his slime form to devour it completely. After consuming the boar, he changed into a standing boar-like form covered in flames for fur. Libra was amazed and said he looked like a fire boar. What impressed her more was that Nazoru could still use his slime powers at the same time. From then on, she called him a fire slime. Suddenly, Nazoru's head was cut off. Libra was in a panic, unsure if he was still alive. A woman then walked forward and realized that Nazoru was nothing more than a strange monster. Still, none of that mattered to her, because what she truly wanted was his magic essence. Nazoru quickly returned to his normal form and wondered who the woman was. He had not sensed her presence until the moment she attacked. If he had not been in his slime form at that time, he would have already been dead. Meanwhile, Libra shook with fear and urged that they should run. Nazoru grew puzzled and tried to understand what was wrong. Her legs trembled as she explained that the woman standing before them was the sworn enemy of humanity, a demon. This demon was known as Sarah Douglas. Upon learning her true identity, Nazoru felt cold sweat run down his face. Sarah said she had no time to waste and that she would take Nazoru's magic essence for herself. Libra quickly told him to cover his mouth and nose before she released a smoke screen. The thick smoke filled the area as Libra pulled Nazoru so they could escape together. Even while blinded, Sarah shouted that she would not let them get away. Libra and Nazoru ran as far as they could. Nazoru was still confused, but when he saw how desperately Libra was running, he understood that the woman chasing them was truly dangerous. Suddenly, Libra tripped on a stone and fell hard to the ground. Nazoru rushed to her side. She panicked and twisted her ankle in the fall. He noticed she had serious injuries, and it was clear she would not be able to run any farther with her legs in that state. Looking around, he searched for a safe place where they could hide. Nazoru discovered a cave and chose to hide there with Libra. Inside, he noticed that she looked pale, but she said she would feel better after resting for a while. She reminded him that he came from another world, which was why he did not know what demons were. In this world, humans and demons had been at war. Elves like her rarely joined the fight, while dwarves usually worked with humans. The beastmen, however, often sided with the demons. There were 5 major races in total, and this was the first time Nazoru had heard about them. The beastmen's cooperation was not true loyalty, since they were almost under the demons' control. At the very top stood the Demon King, the ruler of all demons. Hearing that name made Nazoru break into a cold sweat. Libra explained that demons were so powerful that even royal knights and high wizards could not stand against them. Her trembling showed how serious it was, which made Nazoru wonder if demons were really that terrifying. Still, he remembered how the demon they met earlier looked as if she had just been defeated. Libra also thought it was strange, because battles usually stayed near the border. She wondered why one had appeared so close to the royal capital. Nazoru believed it did not make sense, but one thing was clear. Meeting demons usually meant death. For the moment, he suggested that they wait quietly. Libra felt sorry for getting injured. Suddenly, a sharp noise came from the dark and someone stepped into the cave. It was the same female demon. She looked relieved to see them and staggered forward before collapsing right in front of Nazoru. With weak words, she asked them to share some of their essence. The request left Nazoru completely confused. She begged them to share at least a little, but Nazoru only felt confused. Libra told him this was the best chance to escape while the demon was drained of energy. Yet Nazoru stayed frozen in place, unable to move. Libra pulled his hand and reminded him not to get mixed up with demons since they were dangerous. She explained that a demon's power was far too strong for them to handle. Nazoru agreed, but the phrase immense power stirred something inside him, and he began to mumble strange words. Libra felt uneasy and broke into a cold sweat. Right in front of Nazoru stood a being filled with overwhelming strength. Instead of running, he slowly walked toward the worn-out demon while whispering about taking its power. In his mind, if he gained such strength, he could save everyone and finally defeat the king. The thought made him tremble with hunger, as if the power itself was a feast placed before him. Libra quickly held him back, worried about his strange behavior. Nazoru blinked and came to his senses, admitting that an odd thought had suddenly flashed in his head. Libra asked if he was all right since he no longer acted like himself. He claimed something strange had crossed his mind, then quietly shifted his gaze back to the weakened demon. He wondered if they really should avoid getting involved with her. But as he looked at the demon, another memory surfaced. He remembered Takashi from the past. Once, Nazoru had been attacked by a stray cat. He cried until Takashi rushed to protect him. The cat was not strong, but it was covered in wounds. Takashi decided to take it in and care for it until it healed. Nazoru had worried the cat might be dangerous, that feeding it would cost more, and that Tsurugi would get angry. But Takashi simply said he could not abandon the weak. He told Nazoru that if people abandoned those who were helpless, then no one would help him when his own time of weakness came. Nazoru's thoughts were suddenly cut short when Libra urged her to leave the place before the demon woke up. But Nazoru had already made a decision. She told Libra that she could not just walk away from the situation. She had chosen to help the demon. This surprised Libra, who remembered how the demon had almost killed them. She feared the demon might try to finish them once she woke. To her, it felt unreasonable to give help to something that they could barely face. Nazoru understood that worry. She even thought about the idea of eating the demon to take its power, which could be used to protect everyone. But deep inside, she knew it was not the right path. If she did such a thing, she would never be able to smile honestly when she met her friends again. She could not simply turn her back on someone who was suffering. Hearing this made Libra think of the time Nazoru had saved her life when she had already accepted death. That was who Nazoru was, and it was the reason Libra was still alive and standing. She admitted that it would be risky, but she decided to join Nazoru in helping the demon as soon as they could. At that moment, the demon's lips formed a faint smile. Even though they said that, Nazoru wondered what he should do to help a demon. Libra remembered that the demon had asked to share some magic essence. Nazoru kept thinking about how he could give that. For the moment, he chose to hold her still. Then the demon grabbed his arm tightly and demanded one arm. She said that one arm would be enough. She explained that she could gain magic essence if she ate his arm. Shocked by her words, Libra urged Nazoru to leave the demon and escape, but the demon had no plan of letting them go. Even in her weakened state, she could still bring down at least one of them. Nazoru remained in place with a serious look. The demon pressed him to decide what he would do. At that moment, Nazoru remembered something and changed one of his arms into a blob of slime. He offered it to her to eat. The demon asked what it was, but Nazoru only told her again to eat it. Instead, she bit off his whole arm along with the blob. She remarked that his taste was strange, unlike anything she had ever tasted before. Suddenly, her wounds began to close and heal. Nazoru realized that she had absorbed his magic essence. The demon then called him strange for choosing to help someone who had tried to kill him. She rose to her feet and asked what Nazoru was, not who. She could not tell if he was human or monster. All she could sense was something caught between the two. She glared at him for a moment and then tapped his shoulder. With a faint blush, Sarah the demon thanked him for saving her life. Nazoru blushed as well. The demon promised never to forget the debt. Suddenly a monster appeared and broke the moment. It looked similar to the horned rabbits from the woods, but this one had tough scales that acted as armor and sharper horn which resembled a sword. Libra explained that it was stronger than the fire boar. Without warning, the monster rushed forward and charged at the demon. Sarah barely dodged in time, avoiding the strike by only a small margin. But she did more than just evade. Blood dripped from her sharp nails, and it became clear that she had cut the monster's neck as it lunged. The monster's head fell to the ground and rolled away. Both Nazoru and Libra were shocked by what they had just seen. Sarah herself was surprised to realize that the cave they stood in was the monster's den. She considered it lucky, since the creature was a rare type. She pointed out that its horns could be turned into blades and its scales could be used as armor. Selling them would bring in good money. Still, she decided to leave it behind as a form of thanks, allowing the others to do what they wished with the rest. She finally revealed her full name, Sarah Douglas, before turning to leave. Nazoru looked at her once more and felt unsure. Before she departed, Sarah glanced back at the monster's head, and then at Nazoru, while Nazoru introduced himself completely and gave his thanks for everything. Soon after, the system confirmed that the monster Sarah had slain could be consumed. Nazoru thought about what to do. He remembered her words about the horns and scales being valuable and how they needed money for their journey. Libra said she would be fine either way, but reminded him that they only had a small amount of money left. If she had to choose, it was better for Nazoru to consume it. She explained that this rare horned rabbit might never appear again. Since Nazoru carried the Demon Eater ability, she believed he needed to eat as many kinds of monsters as possible to gain many different powers. Nazoru agreed with her reasoning. Libra wished for him to reach hundreds of thousands of abilities one day, so Nazoru ate the monster right away. The system confirmed that he had consumed the essence of the rare horned rabbit, yet a warning followed. Nazoru had already reached the limit of abilities he could hold. The system told him he had to discard one. Both Nazoru and Libra were stunned, especially after their excitement in setting such a high goal. They had just realized that even this path had its limits. Nazoru had just discovered that he could only hold 3 abilities at the same time. Libra was surprised when she realized he could not simply eat without limit and gather endless powers. She then wanted to know which one he would give up. That was the problem he faced. He had recently gained the Fire Boar's power and the Horned Rabbit's power. That left the Slime and the Plant ability. Libra tried to think hard about which one should be removed. Nazoru then suggested letting go of the Plant ability. Libra grew confused and wanted him to think more carefully about it. He began to wonder if she was right. He knew she had unpleasant memories connected to the cannibal plant. Still, Libra could not believe that was his reason and argued that the Plant ability might still be useful one day. Nazoru explained that it was not his only reason. In all their battles, if he had not relied on the slime's power, he would have already died many times. For someone like him, he could never throw away such a reliable skill. Libra gave thanks to him for considering her as well. With his mind set, Nazoru told the system to remove the ability he had taken from the cannibal plant. Soon after, Nazoru used his new powers to change his form. A sword-shaped horn grew from his forehead and scales spread across his body. He kept leaping forward while Libra rode on his back. He thought they truly owed Sarah for leaving behind the rare horned rabbit. Thanks to that, they were finally able to put more distance from the capital. Libra, feeling guilty, apologized to him again for everything. Nazoru wondered if she meant her injury but simply told her not to worry. He reminded her that it would be best to treat it soon. For the moment, he thought they should find an inn along the way to rest. Libra apologized once more. Nazoru then slowed down from leaping like a rabbit. In front of them was a calm village. He decided they should ask for shelter there. Later, Inside a restaurant, Nazoru enjoyed a proper meal. He had never tasted food in this world that felt so good. It was his first real meal since arriving. Libra agreed that what he had eaten before could not even be called meals. She then stopped and stared at him in silence. Nazoru noticed her reaction, and she seemed to wonder if his ability, Demon Eater, worked only on fresh food and not on cooked ones. That thought made Nazoru realize he was eating meat that came from monsters. Libra explained it made sense, since his world had no magical beasts. Now that she mentioned it, he also noticed there was no system notice while eating cooked meat. He thought about it for a while and guessed that the fresher the meat was, the stronger the magic essence. Cooking might have lessened or removed it. He assumed the magic essence could act like a flavor or even a nutrient. Libra then asked how he managed to use the griffin's power. Nazoru admitted he was not fully sure but believed the griffin's magic essence had been so strong that traces of it still lingered even in its claw. Libra agreed that it sounded possible. In short, Nazoru had to defeat monsters and eat them quickly, just as he had done before. Nazoru accepted that but became more curious about how Libra could eat so much. She did not think much of it and ordered more food. A waitress came to their table and was glad to see them enjoying the meal, since the village did not get many visitors. She wondered if they were adventurers. Nazoru answered that it was something close to that. The girl then mentioned that they also ran an inn and offered them rooms to stay in. Just then, the town guard Prisha stormed into the restaurant, complaining about another long and tiring patrol. He dropped into a seat like a ruler and demanded that alcohol be brought to him quickly, saying his throat was dry. Libra quietly signaled Nazoru not to pay too much attention to the guard. Soon the waitress placed a drink in front of him and reminded him that he was still on duty. Prisha brushed off her concern and told her not to worry about it. While serving him, the girl noticed he was holding a wanted poster. It showed a notice about a strange creature, a humanoid slime, that the king and his people were searching for. After hearing this, Libra realized that Nazoru was now a wanted figure. She thought it was best to leave right away, and Nazoru agreed that staying any longer would be dangerous. Meanwhile, Prisha gulped down his drink in one go and slammed the mug on the table, declaring how nothing compared to drinking while on duty. The waitress reminded him that he should take his job more seriously. She had heard he once held respect as a sheriff and even trained soldiers in the capital. Prisha replied that those days were long gone and no longer meant anything to him. While Prisha kept himself busy trying to charm the waitress, Libra took the chance to leave payment on the table and urged Nazoru to go. Nazoru nodded and walked past the guard's seat, but Prisha noticed their movement. He stopped his flirting and studied them closely, questioning why they were in such a rush. He even invited them to join him for a drink. Nazoru was confused if the words were directed at them, but before he could react, Prisha stood up, grabbed his shoulder, and claimed that the two of them looked far too suspicious in his eyes. He asked them what their business was in a small village like that. Nazoru answered nervously that they were only sightseeing. Prisha seemed pleased and said they should enjoy the village at a slower pace instead of leaving too quickly. He then invited them to drink with him, but his attention shifted when he noticed Libra's chest. He asked her to join him, making her uneasy. Libra glanced at Nazoru, who quickly pulled Prisha's arm and apologized, saying they were in a hurry. He held Libra close and guided her toward the exit. Prisha apologized for troubling them, but his expression changed as he reached for the dagger on his back. When Nazoru touched the door handle, he paused because he heard the sound of a blade being drawn. He turned and saw Prisha preparing to strike. The dagger moved on its own, stretching like a snake. Nazoru froze as it almost cut into his head. His ear was sliced, but he managed to shift his face into liquid by activating his slime powers. Even so, he admitted to himself that he was far from fine. Prisha realized with shock that he had found the wanted slime man. A nearby waitress cried out in confusion, asking what was happening. Prisha told her that the man she was serving was none other than the slime man on the wanted list. Seeing Nazoru's liquid face, the others finally understood his identity but still wondered why someone like him had entered their quiet village. Prisha said that it did not matter. He pulled back his snake-like dagger and explained that he had only been testing him since he looked suspicious. He pointed out that no one would normally claim to be sightseeing while barefoot. By releasing just a hint of killing intent, he confirmed that his target had walked right into it. He added that there was no way he could allow someone like that to escape. The waitress complained about him drawing a weapon in such a public place, but the guard told her to be silent. When Nazoru saw them arguing, he took the chance to use his horned rabbit powers and pulled Libra away. Prisha felt confused because he saw the one called the Slime Man using the abilities of a horned rabbit. Libra felt relieved that Nazoru had gained this power. With it, Nazoru believed they now had a real chance to escape, but at that moment, the snake dagger chased after them and nearly struck. They moved aside just in time, yet the dagger curved and cut into Nazoru's leg. Pain rushed through him as he stumbled to the ground with Libra falling beside him. His first thought was about Libra's safety. She managed to stay unharmed, but Nazoru realized his own wound was partly shielded by the scales that covered him. Libra noticed this and felt relief, but her relief faded quickly when she saw Prisha already closing the distance. Prisha looked at Nazoru with sharp eyes and judged that he was neither beast nor demon. In the end, he decided that Nazoru was an otherworlder. Nazoru felt shocked. He could not believe a drunk guard had such sharp instincts. He heard that this same guard had been a military instructor in the capital. Now that Nazoru had drawn this dangerous man, he knew he could not run away easily. He told Libra to hide somewhere safe, then ran toward the guard. Prisha watched as Nazoru attacked with his horn that looked like a sharp sword. The guard moved aside and dodged. Nazoru was surprised. Prisha smiled and struck his back. Nazoru hit the hard ground and Prisha followed with a wild swing that sent him toward the village fence. Nazoru managed to block most of the blow because his arms were covered in scales. He tried to catch his breath and worried when he saw how damaged his scales were from a single strike. Prisha then spoke about why the king had put a bounty on an otherworlder. Nazoru learned that the term otherworlder meant someone with power stronger than the locals. Prisha said that idea was insane to him. He said he had nothing, not even a proper home. Still, he threw himself into the world and worked like his life depended on it. He wanted to change his life. Nazoru listened to the man's angry words. Prisha said his hard work had paid off and he had gained a good position. Then others had stolen it from him. He could not believe people who did not work hard had taken everything. He said he hated otherworlders. Seeing his angry face gave Nazoru chills. Prisha claimed the kingdom favored people like Nazoru and spoiled even weak others with fine lives. He said people like him were ignored. He swore to change that by taking Nazoru's head and bringing it back to the capital as a trophy. Then he would train other otherworlder children and make them suffer worse than he had. That, he said, would be his revenge. Nazoru grew worried. He thought of the kids at the orphanage he had left behind. Knowing that, he became furious and gritted his teeth. He dared Prisha to touch those children. He vowed he would not let that happen. He shouted that he would not let anyone touch them. He charged toward the guard with fierce determination. Prisha noted his surprising show of spirit. The guard tried to dodge, but in that moment his cheek was torn off by Nazoru's bite. Nazoru did not stop. He swung his claws and cut deep into the guard's chest, breaking through the armor. Prisha gripped his dagger and forced distance between them as the weapon extended and pushed Nazoru back. At the same time, Nazoru raised his left arm to block, already expecting the strike. He dodged quickly as another attack followed. Strangely, he felt his body move more freely in the fight, almost as if battle came naturally to him. The dagger continued its unrelenting assault. Prisha acknowledged Nazoru's strength, saying he was stronger than expected, but added that courage alone would not be enough. In that instant, moves and tactics flowed into Nazoru's mind, as if his body carried hidden knowledge. He wondered if this came from the Demon Eater ability. As he attacked, Prisha mocked him for only defending. Nazoru admitted in his thoughts that she was right. He began mixing his slime powers with the form of the horned rabbit. Prisha's eyes widened at the sight of the two shapes fusing into one, yet Nazoru was not finished. He shifted the sword-like horn from his forehead into his right arm, transforming into something like a one-clawed beast. Prisha grew convinced that Nazoru was truly an otherworlder. Though he called him unnatural, he still pressed on, determined to take his head. Nazoru kept dodging the dagger's extending strikes. Prisha taunted him again, asking why he was only running. He swore that no matter what shape Nazoru took, he would never let him draw near. Nazoru then saw an opening and extended his right arm. The guard was caught off guard by the sudden reach. He was shocked to see Nazoru's arm stretch, yet he claimed it was too slow and knocked the horn aside. The slime arm splattered on the ground, but in that moment the sword horn slid from the slime near Prisha's leg. The blade pierced through, breaking his armor and wounding him badly. Falling to the ground, Prisha could not believe what had just happened. Nazoru declared the fight finished. With his blade pointed at the guard, he announced that Prisha had lost. Yet Nazoru did not move to strike. Prisha lay before him, urging him to end it quickly. At the sound of the word kill, Nazoru froze. His body trembled as he asked himself if he could truly take another human's life so easily. Nazoru wondered if he should really kill a human. He saw no reason to kill one, not even a town guard like Prisha. He told the hurt guard that he would not take his life. He ordered the guard to forget the day, and to act as if Nazoru and his men had never come to the town. Then Nazoru walked away. Prisha laughed and called him naive. He guessed it was because Nazoru had not cut off his head. Prisha said he did not need the head to use the guard. He added that any secret about Nazoru would be enough. He planned to tell the king and win praise for it. He pictured himself returning as the military instructor in the royal capital. Prisha remembered how Nazoru had kept him from touching people in the capital. He thought Nazoru had friends there he protected. Prisha promised to train those friends until they suffered and wished they were dead. Nazoru heard the threat and felt anger. He pointed his blade at Prisha's face, but his hands still trembled. The guard said the threat would not work on him. Nazoru thought about everyone as he breathed hard. His hands shook. The idea of killing to protect them flashed through his mind, but he tried to deny it. He told himself there were other ways and that killing was not needed. He closed his eyes in nervousness, and then something took control of him. When he came back to himself, his eyes widened. Prisha lay on the ground dead with his head away from his neck. The sight shocked him and filled him with disgust. He could not hold it back and began to vomit. Rain started to fall, cold and steady. Nazoru asked himself what he had just done. While he kept vomiting, Libra appeared and walked up to him. She checked if he was all right. He glared and said he had not had a choice. He had done what he thought he must do for himself and for everyone else. Libra knelt and wrapped him in a warm hug. She promised she would follow him no matter what he did from then on. Nazoru wondered if this was the path he had chosen. Under the heavy rain, he let out a long scream to release his fears and anger. Nazoru cried under the heavy rain, yet in his heart he knew the path he had to take. He kept walking forward for the sake of everyone, knowing there was no turning back. Takashi had placed his trust in him to protect and save the people, and for that trust, he would not hesitate to sacrifice. Pain, suffering, and even regret would not stop him. He was ready to face and endure everything in his way. In that moment, he noticed Libra trembling while holding on to him. The sight caught him off guard, but he embraced her in return. He felt grateful for her and knew she had chosen to stay with him despite everything. That loyalty touched him deeply. He held her shoulders and promised to grow stronger, stronger than ever before so he could protect her no matter what. That promise to him was unshakable. Since he still knew little about this world, he believed it would help if she taught him more as they moved forward together. Libra answered with certainty, saying she would always remain by his side. Her feelings had never changed since the day he saved her, and Nazoru felt relief hearing those words. For now, Libra suggested that they should leave the village quickly before more trouble arrived. 2 days later, an investigator from the capital reached the village. The waitress at the inn confirmed that the wanted man had been there with an elf girl. She even presented a simple drawing of Nazoru. The investigator compared it and confirmed it matched the man he had once seen in the underground prison. It turned out to be the same guard from before. The waitress thought about how difficult it must have been for royal guards to travel all the way to their small village. The guard explained that checking the scene of crimes was a necessary duty. The guard called over someone named Kano who had been relaxing with some drinks. He asked her to help with the questioning. Kano complained at first, saying that such work should be left to a grunt. She was a tracker and also an otherworlder. She liked to play around by telling him to call her Kanonako instead of Kano in a playful way. She began to wonder if the suspect was really a slime man. From the corpse she had examined, the wounds on Prisha's neck and chest looked like the work of a horned rabbit. The guard praised her sharp eye and reasoned that the suspect might be able to change shape into a horned rabbit. A few days earlier, they had failed to catch a demon in the same area. Kano got to her feet and eagerly suggested they capture their target this time. She stepped on a nearby lizard and promised not to let their quarry escape again. That night, Nazoru and Libra camped in the forest. Nazoru remembered that past the trees there was another town. Libra believed they could take a short rest once they reached it. She thought they would be out of the forest by the next day. Then, Nazoru felt something moving nearby. A giant spider monster appeared without warning. Nazoru quickly used his horned rabbit powers and told Libra to stay back. He jumped aside to dodge the sudden strike, then shifted into the form of a flaming boar. With a burning punch, he struck the spider and reduced it to ash. Libra admired how strong he was, amazed that he defeated the monster in a single blow. She also noticed how well his fighting skills matched his powers. Nazoru accepted her words but explained that he had sensed something strange about the monster. Just then, Kano appeared behind them and called Nazoru a traitor from another world. Both of them were shocked. Libra screamed in surprise while Nazoru calmly shifted back into his horned rabbit form and tried to strike Kano, who had appeared so suddenly. Kano dodged with ease and spoke about how dirty Nazoru's hands were. Nazoru tried to retreat, but Kano once again appeared behind him. She teased that it was truly wicked for him to raise his hand against a girl he had just met. She said that someone like him deserved to be torn apart. For now, she only wanted to make a small move. She pushed Nazoru away, but he quickly regained balance by gripping the ground tightly with his bare hands. He wondered who this strange girl was and thought she might be an envoy sent by the king. Kano then declared that her marking was complete and that Nazoru could no longer escape from her. Nazoru did not care if he could not run away. He decided to give everything he had. He gathered all his powers. His head changed, showing both the fire boar and the horned rabbit features. His arms became covered with the horned rabbit scales. Using his slime powers, he shifted the sword-shaped horn into his right hand. He swung at Kano but missed. She continued dodging with ease and even remarked on how he could also turn into a fire boar. Nazoru kept attacking, but confusion grew inside him as Kano avoided every strike so easily. He then decided to change his approach. Using his slime powers, he enlarged his left hand and slammed it down at Kano. To his surprise, Kano managed to slip away at the last moment. She leapt into the air and questioned if that was the full extent of Nazoru's power. She then claimed that she was stronger. From the inside of her jacket, sharp metal shards burst out and she sent them flying straight at him. Nazoru was pierced many times until he looked like a cactus covered with spikes. Libra cried out in worry for him. Nazoru knelt on the ground and tried to understand the attack he had just seen. He could not see it at all, but his core stayed intact. Still, he realized it was too risky to keep fighting Kano in that way. He turned his focus to Libra and checked if her ankle had healed. She said she was fine, so Nazoru decided to face the enemy alone and buy her more time. He told her to move forward without him and promised they would meet again later. Without hesitation, Libra left on her own while Kano only watched her walk away. Nazoru then set his blade aflame to draw Kano's attention, realizing in the end that she aimed only for his neck. Kano spoke about how brave he was. Nazoru felt sure he had managed to land a cut on her, yet her true strength remained unknown. He knew he had to create an opening and escape, so he quickly moved to the side. Kano mocked his effort, reminding him that escape from her was impossible. She then threw a knife that struck him right away. Nazoru noticed how she tossed the blade so casually, yet her aim was perfect. He thought that if he kept his scales strong to protect his core and relied on his legs, he might still be able to outrun her. More knives suddenly came from every direction. Nazoru did his best to dodge them all. As he watched their flight, he realized they were the homing kind, which made the ability far worse than he had imagined. He forced himself not to panic and tried to stay calm. He expected an attack from his left, but Kano appeared on his right instead. The surprise made Nazoru panic for a moment, and he quickly pulled back to create distance. He found her movements unsettling. To fight back, he unleashed his flames, setting both Kano and the surrounding trees on fire. The spreading blaze caused Kano to panic as the forest burned around her. While running, Nazoru realized his attacks only scratched the enemy, while Kano's strikes always landed. He thought about what was happening and what he should do. As he looked around, he saw a spider monster, the same kind he had defeated before. He believed it could help him, so he devoured it. At the same time, Kano put out the flames and complained that someone weak like Nazoru was only wasting her time. She could no longer see him, but since she had not touched him yet, she knew she would not have trouble finding him again. She sharpened her focus and spotted Nazoru in the distance. Her knives were not reliable, so she decided to change that. She dragged her tongue across one blade, coating it until the tip. The knife then hardened, grew larger, and took on a new form with veins pulsing along its surface. With this, Kano believed the hunt would soon be over. She wished she could admire the knife later, then casually threw it. The blade tore through the trees in a straight path. Nazoru was too slow to escape and the knife pierced his chest. Blood sprayed from his body as he collapsed to the ground. Kano skipped forward happily after ending his life. She stood over his lifeless body, thinking she had wanted to break him apart more, but the fight ended too quickly. It did not matter since she could still take his head as proof. She swung the knife through his neck and raised his severed head like a trophy. Her mission was complete, and in the end, she had won. Outside the forest, Libra waited anxiously for Nazoru. She hoped he was safe. Since he still had not come out even when morning arrived, she feared that something bad had happened. Yet she forced herself not to think that way. Someone suddenly tapped her shoulder and she screamed in shock. Nazoru, also startled, shouted as well. Relief filled Libra when she saw it was him. She had been worried that the otherworlder had taken him. Nazoru was also relieved that she was safe, but he had just realized that the girl he fought was indeed another otherworlder. Libra confirmed this but said she was even more thankful to see him unharmed. She assumed he had won the fight. Nazoru admitted it was not exactly like that. He explained that he only pretended to be a corpse. Libra grew confused, so he reminded her of what she had seen earlier. He had not been able to land a hit on his enemy. The difference in their strength was too large, so his only choice was to try to escape. But with her tracking skills, running away had been nearly impossible. Because of this, he had gone after a spider monster. Libra realized he meant the false star spider. She recalled how those creatures used silk threads to scout and even relied on their shed shells as decoys. That memory helped her understand what Nazoru had done. He admitted he did not know much about the spider but reminded her that when he once defeated one, the system had given a prompt. Later he discovered that it was only a shed shell. That gave him an idea. If the shell could pass as a real body, then maybe he could use the same trick against his enemy. His plan worked and the otherworlder fell for the false body and left. Libra thought it was amazing that he could use such a clever method during a desperate moment. But Nazoru warned her that the disguise's limits were unclear and he had no idea how long it would fool the enemy. Libra then suggested they leave the forest and rest in the nearby town, since he must have been tired already. Nazoru was still shaken after the battle. He thought his current self needed to eat more in order to grow stronger. The fight that had just ended showed him how weak he really was, and he felt he could not just sit around doing nothing. Libra suggested that they should focus on hunting monsters. Even if Nazoru was tired, he promised himself that he would at least try to help her. Before that, Libra mentioned that he should change his clothes. If he continued looking the way he did, people would likely target him again. She advised him to get proper clothes and shoes. Nazoru, feeling embarrassed, agreed. Libra told him to wait outside the town gates while she went inside to buy what he needed. While waiting, Nazoru sighed to himself. He could not believe how large the gap was between him and the other Otherworlder. Since he had eaten the false star spider, he had lost the powers of the fire boar. Strength depended on how someone used their abilities, but he felt weaker overall. His thoughts were suddenly broken when a small squirrel fell from the tree he leaned against. He was startled at first, but relieved to see it was only a harmless squirrel. Not long after, Libra returned carrying clothes she had chosen for him. She hoped he would be satisfied with them. Nazoru thought they looked good and thanked her. He also noticed her new outfit and said it suited her well. Libra felt happy to hear that and admitted her old clothes were already worn out. As she looked through her bag, she remembered something and pulled out a monster subjugation request from the guild. Nazoru felt unsure and asked what he would actually do in a monster subjugation. Libra explained that he could grow stronger while also earning money. Nazoru expected nothing less from her and gave his thanks. She then revealed there was more to it. She gathered several requests, ranging from goblin exterminations to dragon hunts. To Nazoru, the papers looked like wanted posters. He also noticed the different colors of the sheets and wondered if they had a meaning. Libra confirmed they did, saying the guild ranked quests with marks. The deeper the color, the harder the task and the greater the reward. Black meant it was S rank or even higher. Nazoru realized that taking on a dragon at his level would mean certain death. He could hardly keep up with the girls he had faced earlier, so he understood that his greatest weakness right now was speed. Libra suggested hunting an Elikichu, a monster known for speed and electric powers. It was marked as C rank, which she said fit Nazoru's current ability. Nazoru refused, believing that moving too slowly would not help him improve. He chose a different target instead. Libra pointed out a B rank request for a quick wrap, a monster famous for explosive bursts of speed and sharp vision. Among B rank creatures, it was the fastest of all. Nazoru argued that this was exactly why he needed to fight it. Since he was determined, Libra finally agreed. Not long after, they arrived at a massive cave that served as the quick wrap's lair. Nazoru felt shaken but knew it was the challenge he had chosen. As they entered, the silence inside felt strange. Crystals glowed faintly along the walls. Libra explained that the crystals near the entrance were of low purity, but deeper inside they could find ones of higher purity and greater value. Reports said that the quick wrap had claimed the deeper zone as its nest, which forced miners to abandon their work and issue the request. The two came across the body of a monster lying on the ground. The system confirmed it as a target for consumption and asked if Nazoru would consume it. Libra identified the corpse as that of a goblin. Nazoru noticed it had only recently died, which meant someone else had entered the cave before them. Nazoru agreed to move on. They walked deeper inside and kept finding more goblin bodies. Libra observed that whoever went in first must have been very skilled. Even if the monsters were only goblins, each one had been killed with a single strike. From the wounds, she assumed the killer was a strong archer. She stopped talking soon after, since the system kept sending messages whenever they came across another corpse. Nazoru apologized for the constant noise and wished there was a mute button. To his surprise, the system confirmed that it had just activated one. Nazoru could hardly believe such an option even existed, since they had no idea what the unknown person was aiming for. Nazoru suggested reaching the quick wrap before them to claim the kill. Libra agreed but warned they had to stay cautious. If the person was not hiding under the guild's name, then they might be truly dangerous. Nazoru accepted her warning. Nazoru suddenly stopped walking and Libra bumped into his back. In front of them stretched a massive pit that opened up to the sky with water falling down on both sides. The hole dropped far below the surface, so deep that Nazoru could not see the bottom. He found the place breathtaking. Libra explained that the pit led to the deeper zone of the cave. At that moment, they spotted someone fighting goblins alone. A man was coldly shooting arrows at close range, taking down the monsters one after another. Libra realized this must be the archer who had been leaving the trail of bodies. The man noticed them, clicked his tongue in frustration, then lifted his bow. He aimed and released an arrow straight at Nazoru. The arrow flew straight toward Nazoru's face. His slime body was already active, so the arrow passed through his head and struck the rock wall behind him. The archer was shocked by what he saw. At that moment, the rock wall cracked, and pieces of stone began to fall. Nazoru told Libra to stay close. He formed huge hands from his slime and raised them above them. The large hands blocked the falling rocks and kept them safe. After the rocks stopped falling, Nazoru checked if Libra was all right. She was safe, but she worried more about the archer. Nazoru decided they should go to him first. They ran toward the archer and stopped in front of him while catching their breath. The archer looked at them with a sharp gaze. Nazoru demanded to know what he was thinking. The archer suddenly dropped to his knees and apologized. He explained that he only wanted the crystals. He had believed they were guarding the place. Libra grew angry. She pointed out that they could have died. She reminded him they had accepted a quest to enter the area. Nazoru tried to calm her down, but she kept speaking. She said the archer had sneaked in without going through the guild and asked why he acted like an outlaw. The archer began to think about it. After seeing everything, he felt they were not so different. He remembered how Nazoru had turned into a slime earlier. He realized Nazoru was the one from the wanted poster, the infamous humanoid slime. To him, that meant they were both outlaws. He believed they were the same kind of people in the end. He suggested that they work together. The archer introduced himself as Lone Silva. Nazoru looked at Libra. She was ready to refuse, but Nazoru said Silva had a point. As long as Silva did not shoot them again, they could cooperate. Silva felt relieved and properly introduced himself. Libra could not understand why Nazoru would trust someone who had almost killed them. Nazoru explained that they were heading to the same place anyway. Working together would make their group stronger. Silva then told them he would handle the front lines. As they moved deeper into the cave, Nazoru noticed something strange. There were no monsters around. Silva explained that the goblin's nest was higher up, but they were too afraid of the quicksand trap to come down. Nazoru was surprised that Silva knew so much about the cave. Silva said he had entered the cave several times before. Libra quietly spoke to Nazoru and warned him not to trust Silva too much. Nazoru wondered why. Libra explained that a quick rap lived in the cave, and most people would never dare accept a request that involved going near it. Yet Silva had been sneaking into the cave just to steal crystals. It even sounded like he had done it many times before. Without warning, Silva suddenly turned toward them and shot an arrow. Libra was startled. The arrow flew past them and struck a goblin that had been sneaking up from behind. Nazoru apologized for not noticing the danger sooner. Silva said he had not meant to frighten them and checked if they were safe. Libra thanked him for saving them. Nazoru admitted that Lone was useful after all. Libra agreed, at least for the moment. The group soon reached the lower level of the cave. They stopped in front of a hole that led deeper underground. Nazoru prepared himself for a fight, knowing the quick rap was somewhere inside. Then strange sounds echoed from the hole. Confused, Nazoru asked what it was. Silva explained that the sound came from the quick rap snoring. He said there was no need to worry yet. Silva then led them along a path filled with sharp crystals sticking out from the ground. He told them to watch where they stepped and stay close. Nazoru carried Libra on his back while in the form of a horned rabbit. He checked if she was all right. Libra confirmed she was fine and thanked him, but she told him to keep looking ahead. Before them stretched a wide space where crystals covered both the ceiling and the walls. Nazoru was amazed by the sight. Silva signaled for them to stay quiet. In the center of the room lay a huge beast. Crystals covered its back, and loud snores filled the air as it slept through its afternoon nap. Nazoru realized that this creature had to be the quick rap. He became alert and moved his knife horn to his right hand. Lone noticed and said it was a nice weapon. Nazoru explained that it was a blade made from an Almirage's horn. Libra said it was the scale sword Almirage and that it was very sharp. Silva looked at her with doubt. Libra noticed and asked what his problem was. Silva said he thought she would have something else, like a bomb. Libra reached into her backpack and looked at him with annoyance. She said she did not like how he was asking for things. Still, she handed him some explosives she had. Silva was surprised and asked to borrow some. Libra assumed he had a plan. Silva confirmed that he did and said it was a surprise attack. He explained that a quick rap's body was covered in crystals, and normal attacks would only bounce off. If he attached an explosive to his arrow, he could blow away the crystals around its neck. After that, he wanted Nazoru to finish it with his sword. Nazoru understood and told him to leave it to him. He also told Libra to stay back and move somewhere safe. Silva aimed at the monster and fired his arrow with Libra's explosive tied to it. The arrow hit a gap in the crystals around the monster's neck. It exploded and shattered many of the crystals. The monster woke up and scratched its neck as if it felt an itch. Lone said that even though some crystals broke off, the monster still looked fine. Nazoru then took his turn. He rushed forward and aimed for the weak spot created by the blast. He focused on the bare part of the monster's neck, but as he got closer, the monster's tail suddenly swung at him and struck him. Luckily, his slime body activated. The tail cut his body in half and splattered it on the ground. He had not seen the attack coming because he focused on only one spot. He realized the fight would not be easy at all. The monster suddenly charged at him. Nazoru regenerated his body just in time and dodged the attack. He was shocked that a creature with such a large body could move so fast. He realized that if he made one mistake, he would not survive. At that moment, an arrow struck one of the monster's legs. It stopped right in front of Nazoru and turned its attention to Silva. Silva began firing more arrows, but the monster easily knocked them away with its paws. Even so, Silva kept shooting to hold its attention and give Nazoru a chance to strike. Nazoru understood that Silva's arrows would not last forever. He clenched his fist and prepared himself. The monster noticed his movement and tried to stomp him, but he dodged just in time. Its speed felt unbelievable, but when he compared it to the otherworlder girl they had fought before, this monster was still slower. More arrows struck the monster's side. Nazoru saw that Silva was fully covering for him. When the monster exposed its neck, Nazoru took the chance. He lunged forward and stabbed it. The monster roared in pain. Libra stepped out from hiding and praised Nazoru. The monster then collapsed to the ground. Nazoru tried to catch his breath, but soon the monster began to growl again. The sound made Nazoru step back. Silva became confused and asked what was wrong. Nazoru claimed it felt a sudden sense of danger. Something did not feel right, even though the monster lay still on the ground. Silva took a fighting stance when he saw the monster's crystals turning cloudy. Nazoru felt confused because he had never seen a quick wrap change like that before. Libra remembered hearing about something similar in the past. She explained that a quick wrap stored magical energy inside the crystals across its body. When it reached a critical condition, it absorbed that stored energy and awakened into a stronger form. Nazoru wondered if something like that could really happen. Silva then pointed out that the monster's wounds were already healing. The creature slowly stood up again and snarled at them as its crystals turned completely black. Silva sensed that it was about to attack. Nazoru stayed alert. The monster suddenly moved and vanished from sight. The boys looked around trying to find where it went. Then they realized it was above them. The creature dropped down, ready to strike. Silva barely dodged in time. Nazoru blocked the monster's claws with his blade and held his ground. He tried to counterattack with a slash, but the monster quickly pulled away. Nazoru understood that the quick wrap was finally showing its true speed. The creature swung its tail to attack, but Nazoru rushed behind a crystal boulder for cover. Even then, he could tell the monster was far faster than before. It soon found him and struck him with great force. Libra watched from a distance and cried out in worry. She hoped Nazoru would be safe, but he was holding the monster back for everyone. At that moment, she noticed Silva calmly picking up a large piece of crystal that had come from the monster. Anger rose inside her. She could not understand why he was not helping Nazoru. Silva acted as if nothing was wrong. He made it clear that he was preparing to run. Libra realized that he was keeping the crystals for himself. Silva believed he had simply saved time and even felt thankful, since he had gained a large crystal from the quick wrap without much trouble. Libra suddenly understood. Silva had planned to use them from the start. Silva admitted that she was partly right. He had expected to make use of them, but he had also meant to help. Still, he fully intended to take the crystal home. Libra then believed he had abandoned them after reaching his own goal. Silva walked away with the crystal. He had no intention of risking his life for them and left them to handle things on their own. But then Silva sensed danger. He quickly moved aside as the monster leaped at him. The crystal slipped from his hand. The monster snarled, making it clear that it did not plan to let anyone escape. Nazoru struck the monster with a massive fist. His arm had expanded with his slime body and hardened with the Almirage's scales. He created an opening and urged Silva to flee. Silva felt confused. Nazoru knew Silva had only come for the crystals, so he wanted him gone while there was still time. He told Silva to grab the crystal and leave quickly. He also wanted him to take Libra away if possible. Silva wasted no time and grabbed Libra. She struggled, but he held on. Silva believed fighting the monster was reckless and thought Nazoru should escape too. But Nazoru refused to keep running. He had decided he would defeat and devour the quick wrap. Silva did not understand what Nazoru meant, but he ran anyway. He accepted that Nazoru would act as he wished and warned himself not to feel responsible if things went badly. Then the monster began moving wildly across the room. It pounced again and again so fast it could barely be seen. Silva suddenly stopped as he watched the stone pillars collapse one after another. The crashing pillars shook the ground. Nazoru checked if the two were safe. Silva dropped to his knees in shock. The fallen pillars had sealed the exit. The path was completely blocked. There was no way out anymore. Silva stared at the sealed exit in disbelief for a few seconds. He refused to give up. He began digging through the debris, thinking there had to be a way out if they could just move away from the crystals. As he threw pieces aside, Libra avoided the flying debris and questioned what he was doing. Silva made it clear that he was trying to escape. Libra understood that but wondered why he was acting so desperate. Silva suddenly turned pale and broke into a cold sweat. He revealed that his little brother had ragwolf disease. Libra also went pale and guessed that his brother had been attacked by a houndwolf. Silva confirmed it. He explained that every night his brother lost control like a wild beast and suffered alone. He believed elves should know more about such things and hoped she would know what to do. Libra then realized the crystal was meant to suppress the symptoms of the disease. Silva said it helped ease his brother's suffering. Because of that, he needed to bring the crystal back no matter what. He managed to make a small opening, but it was not big enough for him to pass through. He noticed that Libra was small enough to slip through the gap. Instead of going himself, he asked Nazoru to deliver the crystal to his brother. Libra refused to take on that task and handed the crystal back to him. Silva struck the nearby debris in frustration. He insisted she was the only one who could escape through the gap. He had already accepted that he might lose his life for this. Still, he could not defeat a monster like the quick wrap alone. That was why he kept returning to the cave, studying the creature and waiting for the right chance. He apologized, but he believed a chance like this might never come again. Libra said that might be true, but she would not let him take advantage of them or beg for help only when things became hard. She refused to act like his pawn. She then looked at Nazoru, who was still fighting the monster. She believed that if it were him, he would help. Silva froze as he watched Nazoru fight with full focus. Libra said she trusted Nazoru. She believed he would defeat the quick wrap, consume it, and gain its power. Then she asked what Silva planned to do. She handed the crystal to him and told him to take it back to his brother. Silva remembered his little brother calling him a cool adventurer and wanting to become one too. His brother had wanted to see his archery skills and hoped to go with him next time. Silva had refused because the forest was dangerous. His brother threw a tantrum and called him stingy. In the end, Silva gave in. He picked up his bow and arrows. He told Libra to stay back. He decided he would bring the crystal back himself with his own hands. Meanwhile, the quick wrap ran along the cavern walls and then vanished again. Nazoru dodged the monster's fast strike and made it crash into the cave wall. He tried to attack, thinking he had an opening, but the monster's tail was already swinging toward him. The attacks kept coming, and all he could do was dodge. He realized the situation was getting worse. If he did nothing about the monster's speed, he had no chance of winning. He prepared for another strike, but nothing came. He wondered where the monster had gone. Arrows suddenly flew toward the creature. The monster had no choice but to stop attacking and dodge them. Silva saw that his shots were not even close to hitting the target. He had hoped to help, but he felt that he might only slow Nazoru down. Still, Nazoru saw his effort as support. Even so, it was clear that Silva's arrows could not break through. To deal with the monster's speed, Nazoru used his last trump card. Spider-like legs grew from his back. He planned to counter the monster with them. The creature paused, confused by his sudden change. Nazoru drew its attention again, and the monster rushed after him. He ran around the stone pillars, leading the monster in circles. At first it seemed to make aiming harder, but then something changed. The monster began to slow down. Silva looked more closely and saw thin threads wrapped around the pillars. Nazoru had been shooting threads from his fingers as he moved. The threads tangled around the quick wrap's body and slowed it further. With its speed reduced, Silva could finally aim properly. He prepared a different arrow and decided to use his own trump card. Nazoru kept guiding the monster around the pillars. Now he could dodge its tail more easily. Even slowed down, the creature still stayed out of his sword's reach. Silva signaled for him to move back. His arrow carried petrification magic. If it struck, the monster would turn to stone for a short time and be unable to move. Silva moved into position and fired. The arrow hit one of the monster's legs. The leg turned to stone at once. With the monster trapped, Nazoru moved in to finish it. He swung his sword and cut through its neck. Blood burst out like a fountain. The creature growled weakly before collapsing to the ground. Nazoru stood victorious as the monster lay in a pool of blood. Silva felt relieved that the fight was over. Libra cheered for Nazoru, and he answered with a confident thumbs up. Silva stood in front of the dead quick wrap and remembered what the two of them had said earlier. They said Nazoru would eat it. Nazoru confirmed that he could gain its powers if he did. Libra explained that this was how Nazoru's abilities worked. Silva wondered how Nazoru could even do that when the exit was sealed. Escaping alone was already difficult. Taking the quick wrap outside would be almost impossible. Nazoru then said he could simply eat the quick wrap right there. Silva felt shocked when he heard that. Libra suggested that Nazoru could also consume the crystal pillars that the monster had smashed. Nazoru agreed that it was possible. Libra then tossed a chunk of crystal back to Silva. She felt glad that he could now bring the crystal to his brother. Nazoru looked confused, so Libra explained that Silva needed it for his younger brother's treatment. She also mentioned that Silva had tried to use them to get it. Silva apologized for what he had done. Nazoru said it was fine because he did not feel offended. He hoped Silva's brother would recover soon. Silva stayed silent for a moment. Then he dropped the crystal to the ground and knelt. He declared that he would devote his life to Nazoru from that moment on. He spoke his full family name and his father's name. He vowed to become an arrow that would pierce darkness and bring light. He promised to strike down every enemy who stood before his lord, using his blood and his soul. He offered his life to Nazoru. Nazoru felt confused and told him to stop. Silva explained that he had just performed an oath from his homeland, even if such oaths were no longer common. Still, his respect was real. He promised to repay the kindness shown to him. Nazoru shyly thanked him. He said they had survived the situation because of Silva's help. Silva insisted that their success was because of Nazoru. Libra watched the two boys and smiled. Meanwhile, in the royal capital, inside a training hall, a man met Tsurugi Tokoyuki for the first time after hearing that she had drawn the Sword Saint class. Tsurugi raised her wooden sword and requested a spar. Without waiting for any signal, she rushed straight toward the black-haired man. He blocked every attack with ease. He kept a calm smile as he parried her strikes and pushed her sword away. After some time, he decided the match was over. Everyone in the training hall finished their practice and thanked each other. The man wiped his sweat. His name was Kensaki Somai. He was the captain of the Royal Knight's 6th Squad, another Otherworlder, and the holder of the Dual Blades class. He had expected her strength because she possessed the Sword Saint class. He believed most people would not be able to keep up with her. Tsurugi felt she still had a long way to go. She thanked him for sparring with her even though he was on leave. Kensaki did not mind. He believed that with her current skill she would soon be ready to enter the battlefield. Tsurugi felt uneasy about that. Still, her brother was already fighting out there and she wanted to join him as soon as she could. Someone suddenly bumped into her. Tsurugi apologized. The one who bumped into her was Kano. Kano glared at her and treated her coldly, telling her not to stand in the way. Kensaki stepped in and asked Kano not to pick on the newcomer. Tsurugi introduced herself when she realized that the person in front of her was the well-known Kano. Kano looked at her and confirmed that she was the one with the Sword Saint class. Kensaki then remembered Kano's recent mission to eliminate a humanoid slime. He had heard that the mission failed because the slime used a fake body. Kano accepted the blame without excuse. At that moment, another man called out to her and said the paperwork was done, and they could leave later that night. Kano blamed him for what had happened. She explained that he told her to handle the slime while he chased the elf, but he failed to keep up and lost track of the target. If the elf had been captured, the slime would not have escaped. Kensaki wondered if that was truly the case. He thought the slime must have been powerful if it managed to escape from Kano. Kano reacted with anger. She refused to accept that the matter was finished. To her, it would only end when she killed the slime herself. Back in the cave, Libra stacked stones while wishing Silva would bring the crystal back safely. She focused on keeping the stones from falling and managed to stack 27 of them. She called out to Nazoru but noticed he was focused on something else. He was meditating to understand the power he had consumed. He wanted to control it better and use it in different ways. He went deeper, facing the power directly and reaching closer to its true essence. Nazoru finally opened his eyes. Libra asked if he was done or if she had interrupted him. He said it was not her fault. He explained that he had just felt something wrong. Seeing him gasp for air, Libra asked what had happened. Nazoru said he sensed a murderous aura closing in on him. Libra then asked what they should do. Soon after, Kano and her subordinate arrived. She was happy to find Nazoru. She said their game of tag was over. Nazoru said he had been waiting. Kano teased him for that and asked if her feelings had reached him. Nazoru then spoke seriously. He told her to stop following them. Kano could not believe it. She called him dumb and an idiot, and told him to just die. A crystal appeared on Nazoru's forehead. He said he would not hold back. Kano blushed. She was glad things were heating up. Her subordinate told her to leave the elf to him and charged toward Libra with his sword. Nazoru noticed and used one of his tentacles to disarm the man. He said he would not run anywhere because he knew Kano wanted his head. Kano told her subordinate to sit quietly and watch. She teleported behind Nazoru and said it would be over in seconds. She tried to stab him but he easily blocked her attack. She felt something on her sleeve and arm. Nazoru then charged at her with his sword, but she blocked it with her knife. She noticed he had grown stronger but she was still stronger. She broke his sword with ease. Kano punished him for making her look bad. She pierced him with her knife and did not stop. She stabbed him over and over. Her knife grew bigger until it looked like a lance. She stabbed again and again, saying her knife grew with each push and pull. Nazoru's eyes went pale. Kano grew angry and called him boring. She aimed for the final blow. Nazoru's body fell to the ground. His core was clearly broken. Kano's subordinate praised her for destroying it. Kano thought it was over. At that moment, the crystal on Nazoru's forehead thumped as if alive. The core also started regenerating. Her subordinate warned her that the core was coming back together. Once the core fully regenerated, Nazoru opened his eyes and suddenly got up on all fours. Kano watched as he glared at her with beast-like eyes and fangs, growling. Seeing him alive in front of her, Kano felt excited. She had never felt this way before. When the core returned to normal, Libra realized that Nazoru had used the stored magic from the Quickwrap's crystals. That was how he fixed the core. But now he had gone berserk from using too much magic. Kano prepared for another round. Her knife had returned to normal after shrinking, but she thought it would be enough for someone like him. She lifted her knife, but when she looked ahead, Nazoru was gone. He suddenly appeared behind her and slammed her to the ground. She grabbed her neck as he lifted her and threw her against a nearby wall. He did not stop. He pinned her to the wall, dragged her along like she was nothing, and then threw her into another wall. Kano felt the pain and decided to fight seriously. She opened her jacket and multiple knives flew out, all aimed at Nazoru. She thought this would be the end for him. But Nazoru's wild instincts let him dodge every knife like a beast. Kano felt annoyed, like he was a pest. Nazoru then held a knife in his hand and lunged to stab her. He missed as Kano jumped into the air to dodge. She thought he could not beat her in speed. She threw her remaining knives at Nazoru, and they exploded when they hit. Kano landed in front of the rubble, where a strange liquid flowed underneath. She watched the puddle carefully until a knife came out of it. She expected it and blocked it with her knife. She said he could do tricks, but they were not enough to beat her. Suddenly, her subordinate warned her to watch her back. Kano reacted too late as a huge sword stabbed her. She cursed and tried to fight back, but Nazoru returned to the puddle. She angrily told him not to play with her and threw her knives to stop the puddle from moving. Nazoru reformed his body and said he was disappointed that he could not finish her quickly. Kano held her wound and could not believe someone like him could put her through this. Then she realized her own blood could make her knife grow bigger. She let her knife feed on her blood and it grew larger, but in a terrifying way. Nazoru got into a stance, ready for what was coming. Kano told him he would regret not finishing her with one strike. She promised to make him regret it. She looked angrier than ever. She said the mission to bring back his head no longer mattered to her. Nazoru noticed magical power gathering at the tip of Kano's knife and warned Libra to be careful and get down. Libra wondered if he meant her, but Kano told him to worry about himself first. She swung her large knife backward and released a blast of magical power. The blast destroyed Nazoru's left limb. The force was so strong that it knocked him down. It hit the nearby rock wall with a loud impact. Nazoru knew it was not over. He saw the blast split into smaller pieces, all heading toward him like homing missiles. He realized he could not dodge them all. He focused all his power to create Almirage scales on his crossed arms. The shots hit him at once. The force was so strong that it overwhelmed both Kano's subordinate and even Libra. Nazoru then woke up in another dimension filled with swirling darkness. Confused, he tried to understand where he was. He remembered it was the place he had reached during meditation. A fanged mouth appeared and spoke. It said they thought they had finally found something worth devouring, but instead it was someone too weak to handle what he had absorbed. The fangs moved closer as if ready to devour him. Nazoru tried to push them away. The fangs said they would teach him how to use his powers. Then Nazoru was devoured. Meanwhile, Kano's subordinate dug through the ground where everything had been destroyed by Kano's attack. He asked her to help him. Kano said she had already blown Nazoru to piece, and they would only find small bits of his body. The man said they could at least bring back a chunk as proof. Kano complained about how noisy he was and decided to check herself. She used her large knife to move the sand bit by bit until she found Nazoru's body. She could not believe he was still intact after taking all of her power. Still, it was good that a whole body had appeared. Suddenly, she felt something from Nazoru's body and stepped back immediately. She could not believe it. She said he should not be alive. Then Nazoru spoke in a chilling voice. He said he was still very much alive. Kano could not believe what she was seeing. When Kano heard that, she said she would tear him apart. She swung her weapon in a wide arc and thrust it toward Nazoru. Nazoru dodged with ease. He pointed out that her weapon looked strong, but it meant nothing if she could not hit him. Kano grew angry. She refused to be looked down on. She swore to cut him into pieces and launched a series of fast stabbing attacks. Nazoru avoided every strike without effort. He then swung his leg and kicked her under the chin, lifting her off the ground. Kano did not look shaken. She only smiled. In an instant, she teleported behind Nazoru and aimed for his back, planning to take his core. Before she could strike, Nazoru smirked. Blades grew from his back and stabbed through her body. Kano fell to the ground, blood spilling out. She tried to endure the pain, but a tentacle lashed at her face and sent her flying. Nazoru looked like he was playing with her. Kano felt shocked. He was not the same as before. She realized that if she did not kill him, she would die instead. Nazoru rushed toward her again. Kano fired a bright and powerful beam from the tip of her large knife. The force pushed her backward. When the light faded, Nazoru was unharmed. He appeared above her and reminded her that her weapon was useless if she could not land a hit. He leaped down, grabbed her by the neck, and held her tight. With Kano trapped, Nazoru thought about how to end her. Kano still wore a smirk. She acted as if he had not won. Nazoru lifted her higher and treated her as if she had already lost. Suddenly something exploded nearby. Kano's smaller knives began to fly through the air. She had planned this move. Nazoru noticed the attack and questioned if she believed it could defeat him. He wondered if she truly thought her power was enough. Kano believed her blades would chase him anywhere until they struck. She tried to show no fear. Nazoru tightened his grip around her neck. Her eyes rolled back. Her body went limp as he held her in the air. Even as she died, the knives did not stop. They rained down on both of them. When the dust cleared, Nazoru stood there holding his core in his left hand. He made it clear that she was not strong enough to kill him. If she had wanted him dead, she needed a stronger attack. Kano could not answer. Her torn body hung from his hand, lifeless. From a distance, Libra saw what was happening and felt the same fear as before. She did not know what to do. Nazoru threw Kano's lifeless body to the ground. Then his body began to heal. Sharp bones grew from his shoulders. He let out a loud roar. Libra felt shocked as she watched him change. His body turned into something terrifying. An eye opened on each shoulder. Spikes grew from his bones. A large mouth formed on his stomach. Kano's aide saw the creature and panicked. He knew he would die if he stayed. He ran away as fast as he could. Libra hid behind a large rock. She tried to stay quiet, but Nazoru sensed her. He walked toward her step by step. He kept saying the word eat. The sound filled Libra with fear. She could not move. As he came closer, she thought that he needed something to eat. She made a choice. If letting him eat her would return him to normal, she was ready to give her life. Nazoru reached out his hand toward her. At the same time, the real Nazoru was trapped inside a cage made of fangs. He tried to push them apart. He shouted at the monster within him and told it to release him. He refused to let it control his body. Suddenly, the creature in front of Libra stopped moving. She felt confused. Nazoru's hand slowly changed back to normal. The rest of his body followed. He fell to the ground without clothes and struggled to breathe. Libra carefully stepped out from behind the rock and watched him gasp for air. When she saw that he had returned to normal, she ran to him. She dropped her large bag and searched through her things, hoping to find something to help him. In a weak voice, Nazoru apologized for frightening her. He explained that his demon devourer ability had gone out of control. It had acted on its own, without his command. Libra did not fully understand. Nazoru thought it might have happened because he ran out of mana. Somehow, he managed to take control again. Even so, he realized he could not fully control his power. He understood how dangerous it was. He also knew they were lucky that Libra had not been hurt. He wanted to learn more about his ability, but he did not know how. He asked what he should do. Libra looked at him with concern. She suggested that they visit the elf village. She believed the long-lived elves there might know something that could help. Nazoru agreed and thanked her. Soon after, he fell asleep from exhaustion. Libra watched him and saw how hard he had pushed himself. She felt relieved that he was safe. Soon after, Nazoru regained consciousness. He looked around and realized he was inside Libra's backpack with no clothes on. He felt confused and asked what was happening. Libra felt relieved to see him awake. She explained that he had been sleeping. Nazoru asked if she was all right. He worried because she was carrying something heavy. That was when he realized she was stronger than he thought. Libra explained that her strength came from her class. Nazoru then understood how she had carried him so easily. Her class was called Carrier. As long as something fit inside her pack, she could carry it. Nazoru felt guilty and said he should walk instead. Libra told him not to push himself too hard. Suddenly, someone peeked from behind the trees and watched them. Libra told Nazoru that he had been asleep for 2 whole days. He felt shocked when he heard that. She reminded him not to overdo anything since he had just woken up. Nazoru thanked her. Nazoru had already noticed that someone was watching them, so he told Libra about it. Libra said it was time and told him to change into his slime form. Nazoru followed her instruction. At that moment, arrows flew past them and hit the nearby trees. Nazoru felt surprised, but he quickly realized the arrows had missed on purpose. He asked Libra if she had expected the warning shots. She explained that it was the elves' way of giving a warning. Someone suddenly asked who they were. A female elf named Artea Meyer, the elder of the elven village of Tia, appeared before them. She said this was their land and tried to send them away, thinking they were strangers. But she stopped when she saw Libra. Libra could not control her feelings and rushed forward to hug her. She said it had been a long time and called her Granny Meyer. Meyer corrected her and said it had not been that long. She explained that Libra's mother had contacted them and said Libra had gone missing. Libra said many things had happened. Meyer then looked at Nazoru with sharp eyes and wondered if he was the cause. She asked who he was. Soon after, Libra ate a large meal. She said the fruits were delicious and that the ones from the village were the best. Meyer told Nazoru to eat as much as he wanted. Nazoru thanked her for the food and the clothes. Meyer said she should be thanking him instead. She explained that elves usually stayed away from the outside world. Many of them lived their whole lives inside the village. But Libra had always been different. Since she was young, she had been curious about the world outside. Her curiosity often led her into trouble. Because of that, she had learned many things about the world. Nazoru said Libra had been helping him often because he knew very little about this world. Meyer then brought up Nazoru's power, the demon devourer. Nazoru confirmed that he had come to the elven village to learn the truth about this power. Meyer guessed that Libra had already made a plan. Libra said they had come to visit Elder Baba. Nazoru asked who that was. Meyer explained that she was the great elder of the village. She then led them to the great elder's home. A large mansion stood alone, surrounded by dead trees. Nazoru thought the place looked dark and asked if the great elder truly lived there. Libra said Elder Baba had always been a bit strange. Meyer knocked on the door and called for the great elder. They opened the door and stepped inside. Meyer said they had come to see her. The great elder said she already knew. She said she could smell a bad aura in the air. She closed her book and turned her chair around. A small female elf faced them. She said her heart was beating fast and that she felt excited. She commented that Libra always brought strange things from the outside world. Libra then introduced Nazoru as her benefactor. Nazoru still looked stunned. Elder Baba asked what was wrong since he seemed like he wanted to say something. Nazoru felt flustered and said it was nothing. He explained that he was just surprised because she looked much younger than he had expected. The great elder said she simply took better care of herself than the other elves. She then asked why they had come to see her. Nazoru said they had come to seek her wisdom. However, he admitted he did not even know where to begin. Elder Baba said it was fine if the story was long and told him to explain everything from the start. Nazoru then told her everything. He explained that he came because he wanted to understand what Demon Devourer was. Elder Baba said she understood that he was asking about Demon Devourer, however she said she had never heard of it before. Nazoru was shocked by her answer. Libra also could not believe that even Elder Baba did not know about it. The Great Elder told them to let her finish and not interrupt. She clarified that she had not said there were no ways to deal with Demon Devourer. She believed Nazoru was simply afraid of its power. Nazoru admitted that he was afraid. Elder Baba then said the reason for his fear was the other persona living inside him. Nazoru confirmed that this was true. Elder Baba explained that skills with a separate persona inside a person were rare, but she had heard of them before. Sadly, every person who had such a skill met a tragic end. One of them had been her own companion. Libra felt shocked. Nazoru was speechless at first. He then wondered what kind of situation he had gotten himself into. Elder Baba smirked and stood up from her seat. She told him not to think so negatively and walked away. Meyer asked where she was going, but she told them to wait. She walked to a bookshelf and pulled out a book. The wall behind it shifted along with the shelf. A hidden room appeared. Nazoru was shocked. Libra believed the Great Elder must have something that could solve Nazoru's problem. Nazoru hoped he was right. Libra told him to trust her because she was Elder Baba. After a short while, Elder Baba returned. She threw something at Nazoru and told him to eat it. Nazoru caught it. When he looked closely, he realized it was a heart. It was a monster's heart. He stared at her in confusion. Elder Baba told him to stop complaining and eat it. She said he was wasting her time. She asked if he came only to learn about Demon Devourer, or if he truly wanted a way to stay strong without being consumed by his own skill. Nazoru hesitated, but then he took a large bite of the monster's heart. He chewed with effort. Soon he felt something strange. He dropped the rest of the heart and began making odd sounds. Libra grew worried and asked Elder Baba what she had given him. Elder Baba said it was the heart of an evil ogre. If her guess was correct, it would force out the being inside him. Suddenly Nazoru spoke in a cold voice. He said it annoyed him to follow the old woman's plan. Libra felt a chill run down his back. The other presents claimed that Nazoru's body now belonged to him. He said he would not spare anyone who stood in his way. Elder Baba smirked and said the real show had begun. She felt curious when she saw and heard the other presents inside Nazoru. She said it was an honor to meet him and hoped they could talk for a while. Nazoru's other persona suddenly grew a pair of horns and told her to stop talking. He transformed into an evil ogre and thanked her for the power. Then he leaped toward her and said he would devour her as well. Elder Baba stood still with a blank look on her face. A second later, Meyer's blade pierced through Nazoru's back and came out from his chest. Elder Baba told Meyer to buy them some time. Meyer said she understood. Nazoru's other persona turned and glared at Meyer. With one punch he sent her flying. The force broke the large door and threw Meyer outside, where she slid across the ground. Libra called out to Meyer in worry. Meyer said she could hold on for about 2 minutes. When he heard that, Nazoru's other persona said he could not hold himself back for that long. Elder Baba said that even Meyer could last that amount of time. Libra urged her to act before Meyer was defeated. Elder Baba then asked if she truly believed she did not have a plan. Nazoru's other persona and Meyer kept fighting outside. Meyer could only dodge and move away from his attacks. He kept chasing her and thought she was boring because she would not face him directly. As she continued to avoid him, Nazoru's other persona stopped holding back. His arms began to change. Meyer's face turned pale when she saw it. His arms turned into large mouths with sharp teeth. He said he was already hungry. Then a large magic circle appeared under their feet. Elder Baba praised Meyer for leading Nazoru's other persona to the exact spot she had planned. A second magic circle appeared and locked him in place. Elder Baba explained that it was a layered binding spell. She believed even a monster like him could not break it with strength alone. Nazoru's other persona said the magic circle was weak. Elder Baba warned him not to look down on her. The binding spell tightened around him. He screamed in pain and fell to the ground. Elder Baba felt relieved that it worked. Libra asked what had just happened. Elder Baba explained that the magic circle forced out mana at a fast rate. If he lost enough mana, he would be pushed back inside. However, that would only return things to how they were before. From that point on, it would depend on Nazoru himself. At the same time, Nazoru's other persona woke up in a different place. Someone appeared in front of him and said he had been waiting. Nazoru clenched his fist and swung it forward. He was ready to settle everything between them. Even though Nazoru attacked first, his punch failed. His other persona caught his fist with ease. The persona found him amusing. He said this was his inner world, and he was surprised that someone like Nazoru had managed to enter it. Still, he gave Nazoru a little credit. The persona opened his mouth and showed his long fangs. He bit off part of Nazoru's right arm. Nazoru screamed in pain. The persona called him weak and swallowed the flesh. He mocked Nazoru and questioned where his confidence had gone. He asked if the pain was too much for him. He reminded Nazoru that his slime body helped him avoid damage in the real world. But that trick did not work here. Nazoru stood up again. He turned his body into slime and brought out an Almirage blade. The persona told him that even if his wounds healed, the pain would remain. Nazoru rushed forward, believing the persona would feel pain as well. The persona did not dodge. He let the blade stab his face. He called Nazoru clever and grabbed the blade. Even so, he said Nazoru had no chance of winning. The persona then transformed. Fangs grew from his mouth, and large claws formed on his hands. He swung his claws and sliced off Nazoru's legs. Even with a slime body, Nazoru felt the pain and screamed. The persona said they had only begun. He turned into a puddle of slime and slipped under Nazoru, who was still trying to heal. He decided to target Nazoru's right arm next. Suddenly, a blade pierced through Nazoru's right hand. More blades shot up from the slime puddle and stabbed both of his legs. Nazoru could only scream. The persona rose again and asked if Nazoru planned to keep resisting. He chose to enjoy the moment. Another blade stabbed through Nazoru's chest. Nazoru froze and looked down at the blade. He checked if his core was still intact. The persona mocked him and said he would have died if his core had been destroyed. But in this inner world he had no core. More blades rose from the ground and pierced Nazoru from every side. One blade went through the back of his head and came out of his mouth. The scene was brutal. The blades pulled back and Nazoru fell to the ground in his slime form. The persona returned to his humanoid shape. He said he would stay with Nazoru until he finally broke, and when Nazoru lost control, his body would belong to him. Back in the real world, Nazoru's body was still bound with magic. He continued making groaning sounds. Libra worriedly asked if Nazoru was really okay. However, Elder Baba didn't respond to her question. Libra angrily asked if she was even listening. Elder Baba just stood there waiting for what was about to happen. Back in Nazoru's inner world, he continued screaming in pain and agony as he got stabbed. His other persona teasingly asked what was wrong. He knew that one would have hurt. He asked if it felt amazing. Nazoru didn't respond as he got lifted by the huge blades while he was someone crucified. He asked what was wrong. He teasingly saked Nazoru if he didn't have the strength to talk back. Seeing that Nazoru wasn't responding at all, his persona assumed it was about time for the main dish. He transformed into a monstrous form with sharp fangs. He decided to keep eating Nazoru alive until he got satisfied. He then approached him and as for starters, he used his sharp claws to reach out to Nazoru's eye. He gouged out Nazoru's left eyeball. Nazoru screamed in pain. He munched on the eyeball and claimed it wasn't enough to fill him. He claimed they were just getting started though. Suddenly, Nazoru's body shone bright. A magic circle appeared from within his body. This shocked the persona. He was surprised to see a magic circle inside his inner world. Nazoru's body suddenly disappeared. The persona clicked his tongue. He assumed Nazoru ran off. He couldn't believe that old hag even messing with his mind now. He called her a crazy little bitch and licked his lips. Back in the real world, Elder Baba claimed she should have brought Nazoru back. Nazoru, who had been mumbling nonsense for a while, finally regained consciousness. Libra worriedly ran to him. She got close to him and asked if he was okay. She held his hand. The sudden contact made Nazoru freak out. Libra asked what was wrong. Elder Baba then assumed Nazoru went through hell. She concluded that he had been tortured one-sidedly. She realized the other persona was brutal. The pain was clear on his face. It totally broke him. She claimed one more moment and Nazoru would have been completely taken over. Libra asked if Elder Baba can do something about it. Elder Baba claimed she couldn't. She claimed the fight was between Nazoru and his other self. It was a matter of who broke first. That thing wasn't limitless either. All that matters was that Nazoru beats his other persona himself. She then called out Nazoru. She told him to go challenge his other self again. She made it clear that he would go back inside. However, Nazoru did not seem to hear her. He still looked frozen with fear. Libra said her idea sounded crazy. Elder Baba stared at Nazoru. She believed he might choose to give up and wait for the demon inside him to take over his body one day. As long as her magic circle kept burning his mana, the demon could not take control. But the magic circle would not last forever. She sat in front of Nazoru and looked straight into his eyes. She said that unless he had truly decided to give up everything, he still had a choice. Nazoru suddenly remembered the children from the orphanage. Elder Baba said he had suffered a lot, but if he would not give up, then he had to fight through the pain and crush his other self. Those were the only two choices left. Libra felt shocked when Nazoru finally spoke. He stuttered as he said he should not give up. He cried hard and said he could not give up because of everyone's will and Takashi's will. He had made a promise to Takashi. Elder Baba reached into her clothes and took out what was left of the monster's heart. She told him to eat it. She told him to return to the inner world of his other self one more time. Nazoru took a deep breath as he stared at it. His hand shook as he reached for the heart. He did not hesitate. He bit into it and swallowed. Nazoru found himself standing in a white world again. His breathing was rough. His hands shook. He looked down at them and clenched his fists. He told himself not to fear and not to lose. Suddenly, his other self appeared and licked his lips. He looked surprised to see Nazoru. He had believed Nazoru would never return. He wanted to see Nazoru's fearful face again. Nazoru clenched his teeth and changed into his fighting form. This time, he would be the one to devour the other self. When Nazoru heard that from the persona grew excited. He said it sounded fun and told Nazoru to try if he could. Nazoru told him to get ready and rushed forward with his Almirage blade. The persona avoided the attack by turning into a puddle of slime. Nazoru could not believe it. The persona said he had not only dodged, Nazoru's neck had already been cut. Nazoru realized it a second too late. Pain rushed through him. He screamed as it burned across his neck. The persona said they were not equal, and told him to give up. Nazoru forced himself to stand. He said he was only getting started. He tried to attack again, but the persona cut him instead. The persona laughed at the look on Nazoru's face. He enjoyed watching Nazoru twist in pain. He could feel his pain and fear. Then Nazoru suddenly vanished. In the next moment he appeared above the persona, ready to strike. The persona asked if that was all he could do. A blade shot out from the persona's back and pierced Nazoru's chest. Nazoru did not stop. Even while injured, he swung his blade and cut the persona. He struggled to breathe. The persona admitted that Nazoru was stronger than he had been a minute before. Then the persona froze. He noticed a puddle of slime under his feet. Blades burst out from it and stabbed him from different sides. The persona clicked his tongue in disappointment. Nazoru said he was learning during the fight as well. The persona finally understood. He thought Nazoru wanted to become a demon devourer like him. Nazoru asked what he meant. The persona believed Nazoru hated being controlled by a demon devourer, yet he was copying his powers. He said Nazoru could not do anything on his own. Nazoru said he did not need him. The persona told Nazoru to face himself. He said he was much stronger and that the difference between them was clear. He claimed Nazoru needed him to survive and told him not to look away. The ground suddenly changed. Images appeared beneath Nazoru's feet and he was shocked. The persona showed him his past. Nazoru saw himself being bullied because he had been weak. The persona said Nazoru was still the same. He knew Nazoru was tired of being weak. He told Nazoru to accept him so everything would become easier. He promised he could do anything for Nazoru, even take revenge. Nazoru stayed silent for a moment. The persona asked if he was ready to accept him, but Nazoru refused. He said he would not fall for it. The persona realized that Nazoru did not understand what he meant. Then a man rose from the ground. In a cold voice he said he had not planned to kill, yet he had acted selfishly. Nazoru felt shocked when he saw the face of someone he had killed before. Another pair of hands crawled up his legs. When he looked down he saw Kano. She called him a murderer and a traitor. Fear started to grow inside him. The persona asked if he understood now. He explained that he was not only talking about Nazoru's body, he wanted to carry all of Nazoru's pain as well. He said it would not be so bad. Nazoru clenched his fist and said he would not trust him. Another dead person rose from the puddle. It was Takashi. He said it must have been hard for Nazoru. He told him not to push himself too much. He said Nazoru could not handle it and should give up and choose the easy way. The persona stepped closer and told Nazoru to accept him. Nazoru glared at him as the puddle began to swallow him. The persona told him to leave everything behind and let it be easier. Suddenly Nazoru grabbed the persona's leg. He refused to let him take anything. He said he could live with the pain. The persona was shocked. Large sharp shapes rose from the puddle. Nazoru said he would not give up anything. The revenge, the suffering, and his promise to Takashi all belonged to him. More teeth appeared around them. The persona could not believe what he saw. Nazoru held on tightly and pushed forward as if he were biting through the pain itself. He would face the pain and the persona together. The persona then smiled. In the real world, the elves were still waiting for Nazoru to respond. Nazoru suddenly gasped and looked confused. Libra called Elder Baba's attention. The elder looked at Nazoru with interest. Nazoru felt relieved. Somehow he had returned. At that moment the system confirmed that his class, Demon Devourer, had begun to rank up. Libra felt relieved when Nazoru returned safely. Nazoru said he had come back. Elder Baba thought he had defeated the Demon Devourer. Nazoru explained that he had landed one strong hit. However, he had not been able to defeat it, and it did not seem like it had given up. Elder Baba understood. She believed the creature would not appear again for some time. She also thought there was no longer a need to use the magic circle. Libra looked above Nazoru's head and noticed a sign that showed he had ranked up. Nazoru realized he had leveled up after devouring part of his other persona. Libra guessed this might mean he could create more copies. Then the system appeared and told Nazoru to choose one ability to keep forever. Nazoru understood that one of his copied abilities would become permanent and could not be removed. Libra was shocked that this was the cost of ranking up. Elder Baba and Meyer stayed silent as they watched. Libra wondered what would happen next since Nazoru could only choose one ability. He currently had 3 options: Slime, Almirage, and Quick Wrap. One of them would be locked in and he would not be able to give it up later. He started to decide, but Libra asked him to slow down and think carefully. Nazoru thanked her for caring, but he said his answer would not change no matter how long he thought about it. Libra realized he had already made his choice. Nazoru knew that Almirage gave him weapons and armor, while Quick Wrap gave him speed and healing. He believed there were stronger powers in the world than those two. However, the slime ability felt special to him. It felt different from the others, and he did not want to lose it. He looked at the system panel and chose to make his slime ability permanent. The system confirmed his choice and raised his class rank. He also gained a new skill called Auto Guard. This skill sensed danger and automatically turned parts of his body into slime to protect him. After that, the system disappeared from view. Nazoru realized that his new skill could detect danger even when he did not notice attacks around him. Libra suddenly attacked and punched his right arm. The part she touched turned into slime. Nazoru did not expect the skill to work that way. He became excited and asked her to punch him again. She told him to close his eyes for the next hit. At that moment, Nazoru saw Elder Baba staring at him. He remembered that he had forgotten something. He knelt before her and thanked her. Elder Baba smirked and said that words were not enough. She said she did not feel his gratitude and wondered what payment she should ask for. However, she was only joking. In the end, Nazoru succeeded because of his own effort. She also had the chance to test her magic circle, so both of them gained something. Nazoru was surprised to learn that the magic circle was only a prototype. Elder Baba thought he must be tired, so she suggested that he go back and rest. Later, inside a house, Nazoru was surprised to find a real bed waiting for him. Libra also felt happy to have a bed after such a long time. Nazoru felt a little guilty and wondered if it was truly fine for them to relax. Libra believed it was fine to rest for one day. Then someone knocked on the door. It was Meyer, wearing a nightdress. She asked if they could talk. Nazoru was surprised by how uneasy she looked and asked what was wrong. Meyer said she had a favor to ask. She explained that one day the elves might go to war against the humans. She wanted Nazoru to stand with the elves and fight for them.